A heavy mechanical foot steps forward. A soldier, face fully shielded and gun in hand. At that moment, a bolt of lightning strikes down, revealing a horde of monsters. The soldier immediately opens fire. The monsters are continuously vaporized. His eyes widen as an explosion goes off in front of him. This forces him to observe carefully, his eyes becoming bloodshot. In the next second, a bright light appears, followed by a dragon. It lets out a deafening roar that shakes the heavens, then charges straight ahead. The soldier's eyes widen, and he hastily drops his gun. His expression turns to panic as his entire body begins to burn. John screams in agony, and then jolts awake. He clutches his head and curses, "Damn it, that fucking nightmare again." He runs a hand through his hair, tearing at it. But then he remembers, today is the last day of recruitment. On the plane, a boy named Lee Han wears a serious expression. His information is read aloud. Lee Han, 10 years old, a kid who's the leader of a group of orphans. Impressive. Major Kang continues, "Don't worry, we're not putting you in jail. Have you ever—" He starts to lead the conversation. "Heard of a place called Ark?" Lee Han answers seriously. "Ah, you mean the training facility for psychers. Are you saying I'm a psychic?" The answer pleases Major Kang. "Smart kid. You're not just an ordinary psyker. You're the savior of humanity. And you won't have to starve in those slums anymore. You'll get to eat and sleep in a much better place." Hearing this, Lee Han becomes indignant. "Only I get to eat well. My younger siblings have to get the same." He negotiates firmly. "If you want to send me to Ark, then you'll take responsibility for them. Their food, their clothes, their housing, and their school, everything." This makes Major Kang frown. He can only agree. "All right, I understand. I'll take responsibility for your siblings and take care of them." But he doesn't forget the condition. However, Major Kang declares that will only happen if you stay at Ark. "As a psyker, you understand what I'm saying, don't you?" Lee Han replies seriously, "Of course." Then he walks off alone. The plane is still in motion, its door already open. Lee Han stands and looks down. He remembers what he was told about the ranks for psychics. And obviously you're not a high rank yet. As he walked forward, Major Kang had warned him, "If you still care about your siblings, then at all costs. And you must try to survive." Before him is Ark. Lee Han's hand clenches. A shout makes him look over, followed by a curse. "Go back to where you came from." Simon yells, crying like a little brat who was forced to come here. His hand clenches. "It's because they recruit trash like you that people like me get looked down on, too." A curse rings out, "You piece of trash." A bystander criticizes him, "And what about you?" "How did you get so arrogant, huh?" Simon retorts coldly, "You idiots." He begins to use his powers. "My background is obviously on a different level from you lot." He then explains, "I'm a trained psyker." Everyone murmurs in awe. "Those stones are—" This is the first time I've ever actually seen someone use psychic abilities. "The stones are controlled by him. I don't know if they'll send you back home if you end up useless from an injury." "But this isn't a place where someone like you can survive," Simon declares arrogantly. "You'll thank me for this later." He then attacks Kuro with it. "Now get out of my sight." Lee Han catches it. He looks at the rock and remarks, "Too slow. Wouldn't it be better if you just threw it with your arm?" Simon asks, annoyed, "Who the hell are you?" Lee Han answers without hesitation, "Your ethics teacher." The crowd gets even rowdier. "Fight, fight. Teach him a lesson." But then someone appears. A shout makes the two of them stop. "You two." John slowly approaches. He growls a command at both of them. "Step forward." John questions them. "What are your names?" They answer one by one, Del Simon, Lee Han. He continues asking, "Del Simon, you're a trained one. What can you do?" Simon answers honestly, "I've only achieved telekinesis, sir." As for Lee Han, he's confused. John punches Simon in the stomach. "Is that so?" Simon cries out in pain. He begins to lecture, "You're already this arrogant with just that you're trash." Next, he turns to the one beside him. "And Lee Han, what about you?" John remarks darkly. "I like how you help the weak." Another punch lands. "But if you don't even have Simon's level of ability, then you're even bigger trash." Lee Han is sent flying backward. "All of you listen up. In 3 weeks you'll be moved to the first year. If you can't demonstrate your kinesis skills, you'll be expelled." He clutches his chest in pain. John continues, "My introduction is a bit late. My name is John Red. I'm responsible for training you idiots and pieces of trash into psychic warriors to fight against dragons." He explains simply, That's the end of the introductions. Now run laps around the training ground until I, your instructor, say stop. He gives the order directly. Get your asses up now. The training begins. No stopping. If you stop, you will be expelled immediately. Li Han runs calmly. I'm all too used to this kind of treatment. The others start to collapse one by one. I can't run anymore. John roars in anger. You useless fools, stop getting in everyone else's way. Get the hell home now. He points and orders, you two are expelled. As Li Han ran, he thought to himself, I can handle something this tough. But what's worrying me is that psychic ability. He subconsciously glanced at Simon. Can I do what he does? Then he wondered, I have psychic abilities too, don't I? Kuro's legs were about to give out. His forehead was soaked in sweat, his eyes were glazed over, and his whole body collapsed. John offered a harsh critique. Get the hell home and go to sleep. Kuro stammered. I don't think I can, but was surprised to find himself pushing forward. John remained silent. Li Han caught Kuro. He still hasn't said he's giving up. Then he smiled at him right. Kuro seized the moment to reply, yeah. John watched them in silence. Li Han helped Kuro toward the finish line, and that evening the command to stop finally rang out. Li Han let out a breath. Everyone was exhausted. So from 73 people, only 40 remained. John continued his explanation. That's all for today's training. Starting tomorrow, the real training begins. During the training period, we will start every morning with a run just like today. Their faces paled in shock. What? Li Han just listened grimly. Time passed. The next day, training at AC began with a schedule that started with a 5-hour morning run followed by breakfast at 8 o'clock and morning class at 9. John was the instructor. Imagine that inside your body there is an area that can generate psychic energy. It could be your head, it could be your heart, or you could think of it as being in your dantian. Just like in wuxia novels, the most important thing is to envision that area. Li Han placed a hand on his chest. I'll start with the heart. Next was lunch at 12:30. He grabbed his tray and walked over to start a conversation with his friend. Kuro, let's eat together. Li Han watched Kuro. His name is Kuro. He's the first friend I've made here at AC, and my life has taken a turn for the better. Then he said softly, enjoy your meal. At that moment, he made eye contact with Simon, who frowned in annoyance. Li Han gave a similar look back. Kuro suddenly spoke up. His name is Del Simon. I heard he got a scholarship in England. No wonder he's so arrogant, Li Han replied. He then added, he might not like me, but it doesn't seem like there's anything he can do about it. I hope. We should be able to use telekinesis within the next 3 weeks. Kuro hesitantly confessed, hey, I can already do it. Telekinesis. This surprised Li Han. Really, Kuro, you're the most interesting one here after all. Looks like I shouldn't have been worrying about the others. Time passed. After the afternoon class came combat practice and the afternoon run followed by dinner breathing exercises and roll call. Finally, at 10 p.m., it was time for bed as the command rang out. Lights out. Li Han lay in bed, tossing and turning. I can't sleep. He started to think. Showering, eating a pillow and a blanket. This is so much better than my old life. There's just no comparison. But he reminded himself, I want to go home. I can't. No, I can't be this week. 2 weeks passed. One of the members shouted, I did it. It's working. Li Han silently noted that the number of kids who could use telekinesis had increased significantly. He started to feel helpless. What should I do? Do I just not have a talent for this? Kuro hesitantly tried to explain his method. I don't really know any tricks like that. Sorry. Li Han quickly made up his mind. There's only one person left I can ask. It was Simon. He spoke sarcastically. Well, look who it is. What do you want? He said, looking at Li Han. Li Han calmly asked back, you already know why I'm here, don't you? Simon admitted nonchalantly, yeah. You came to ask for the trick to pull off the skill, right? He continued with a sly look, but you know I think you're holding your head a little too high. I thought your country was supposed to have manners. Li Han was visibly annoyed. My pride doesn't matter right now. Then he obediently knelt and made his request. Teach me, please. Simon frowned at him, then closed his eyes. He stated a condition. Stand up. I'll teach you. You're the one who asked me for the method, so don't complain about what I tell you, understand? Give me the pencil. Then he decisively stabbed the pencil into Li Han. Li Han looked utterly shocked. What the? The plane was still flying and John was smoking by the window. He muttered to himself, I can't believe it's already induction day. Time really does fly. The door was pushed open. Otto called out excitedly, Sergeant Red! He raised his voice. I knew you'd be here. Ah, long time no see, Otto, John replied indifferently. Otto wrinkled his nose and chided, It stinks. You can't smoke in here, Sergeant. He then asked, So why are you here? He dropped himself into a chair. Since I've arrived, I think we might be partners. So what do you think of the rookies? John seriously remarked that the rookies were all idiots. A confused Otto asked back, What's that supposed to mean? Are you kidding? He started to explain, Well, at least 2 of them are usable. A curious Otto repeated, 2. John stated his opinion. I don't like his personality, but that Simon kid isn't bad. His skill level is already beyond that of the first years. Hearing that, Otto agreed. If it's Simon, then it's possible. That kid is the last genius to come out of the Royal Psychers training facility, a guy just like me. I have a lot of faith in that kid. John pondered for a moment. As for the other one, he thought of Lee Han. That kid has loyalty, and that mental fortitude of his. It's far beyond the other rookies, and he has his own judgment. Although the kid is an ideal soldier, he knows full well that Ark is a place that needs extraordinary people, not mediocre ones. If you can't use any psychic skills at all, then this isn't the place for you, Lee Han. Otto still looked on expectantly. So, what was his name? He suddenly added. Oh, that's right. I heard a few things on my way here. Do you know what they call you? John replied indifferently. I'm sure it's bastard or something along those lines. Am I right? Otto chuckled, confirming you are. John looked down seriously and began to announce, As you all know today, you will be appointed as first years. Simon listened intently. However, John added, that's only for those who are ready to become psychers. Kuro glanced over at Lee Han. John continued, The basic skill of a psychic is focusing latent energy. It can be identified by the glow in your eyes. It doesn't matter whether or not you can use telekinesis. Anyone who can do this can stay. He pointed and ordered, Those of you who have mastered focusing your energy over there, line up in front of the technician standing there. Then he looked elsewhere. Anyone who can't do it over here, agents and a helicopter will take you home immediately. The words horrified Lee Han. He saw a familiar face, Major Khan. An order was given. Go, go, move your asses. Kuro looked at him worriedly. Lee Han closed his eyes. At that moment, he remembered Simon and how he'd stabbed him. Lee Han had winced in pain before falling. Putting a hand to his shirt, he questioned him. This is your answer. Aren't you trying to kill me? Simon slowly explained, Don't worry, I didn't stab deep. It will help you focus your senses more easily. Lee Han looked surprised. Right now, that wound will be your psionic conduit. Simon continued to guide him. To put it simply, this wound is absorbing psychic energy, but if you keep it in your chest for too long, you won't succeed. Lee Han looked on in admiration. So he knew my heart was my core. The other boy shook his head. I'm not taking it back. It's covered in blood, he told himself ever since that day. I'm sure I've started to feel it, but it always feels like I'm losing psychic energy. And I just feel more and more helpless. So what do I have to do to manifest it? John spoke up then. Hey, Lee Han, he reminded him, you're the last one. Don't just stand there, move it. Kuro watched worriedly. Lee Han remained rooted to the spot. Think, Lee Han, think. I have to do this, I can't go back. John was starting to lose his patience. This kid! He started to walk over. Everyone was terrified. John stopped and warned, a soldier must always follow the orders of their superior officer. Then he got into a fighting stance. No exceptions. Lee Han gritted his teeth, thinking to himself, I have to do something. Think, what can I do? His eyes widened, staring at the pen in John's breast pocket. John threw a punch straight at his face. As he did, Lee Han snatched the pen. I couldn't think of anything else. John looked at him surprised. Hey, that's... Lee Han thought to himself, if it's because the conduit isn't wide enough. And then stabbed himself. If the conduit is the problem, then I'll just have to open it wider. Kuro and Simon's faces went pale as John grabbed his collar and demanded, What the hell are you doing? You fool, are you actually trying to die? The pen fell to the ground. Lee Han burst into tears, but he had succeeded. John observed him carefully for a few seconds, then sighed and let go. He turned and walked away, leaving one sentence behind, I've never seen anyone as useless as you. John stopped after a few steps. He slowly turned his head and then declared, "But at the very least, congratulations, Li Han." Li Han thought with pride. "Finally, I'm at the starting line." Kuro ran over worriedly. "Li Han, are you okay?" He smiled in reply. "I'm fine. That's nothing." Otto, who was beside him, chimed in, "Here, Li Han. This is your reward. Take it." Li Han stared blankly at the watch as the man explained, unable to hide his pride. "This is AC's latest technological achievement, the orientation bracelet." An announcement rang out, "Verifying user Li Han, military intern. User registration complete." You muttered in awe, "Amazing." Otto agreed and added, "Right. If you students want to know what's going on." John from up ahead shouted, "Pay attention. The class mission will be over soon. All students gather with your class after I mark you off the list." He began to explain. "The ARC class is divided from A to D according to your abilities." Li Han listened intently. "This mission will be the culmination of the past 3 weeks of training. But keep in mind that you can be promoted and move up a class as long as you have the skills." John continued to assign the remaining 25 students. "Congratulations on this transfer. All of you from now on must remember that I am a bastard," he added. "But first I have to clear up this misunderstanding you all have." Otto on the side thought to himself, "Look how long he holds a grudge." John admitted seriously, "I'm not just a bastard. I'm the worst kind of bastard." Then he began the class assignments. Class A, 1 person Simon. Next Kuro. Class B, 4 people. He continued reading from the list, "Those 5 will come with me, the sergeant." Class C, 5 people. Class D, 15 people. Upon hearing the results, Li Han thought, "Class D, I don't care. I'll rank up soon enough." John continued with the assignments. "These 20 people will go with Instructor Wei Chen here." Everyone exclaimed, "He's huge. He looks even scarier than Sergeant Red." Wei Chen smiled and introduced himself. "My name is Wei Chen. I'm an instructor. Things are going to be tough from now on, but let's rely on each other and do our best." The students were collectively amazed. "He's so nice. It's like our team is being warmed by a fire." The command was given. "Move out." Simon glanced at Li Han, then walked past him. Li Han saw that Kuro's eyes were filled with tears. He reassured him, "Don't worry, Kuro," and made a promise. "I'll be there soon." Wei Chen gestured enthusiastically. "Now let's move to the training room." They moved quickly into the brightly lit room. Wei Chen began his demonstration and everyone was amazed at his skill. Wei Chen stopped and began to speak. "You all must be wondering why you're learning swordsmanship and spearmanship when you're fighting dragons, right? The reason is the psychic equipment you'll be using." The lecture began. "There is nothing on Earth that can contain psychic energy. But the skin and bones of dragons contain and emit that same psychic energy." Wei Chen explained in detail, "Therefore, weapons made from dragons can also inflict fatal damage upon them." A question followed. "Then how do you catch a dragon?" Without those weapons, Wei Chen fell into deep thought. He slowly explained, "In the beginning, if we fought with just our bare hands, a single dragon could kill hundreds of psychers, even with more psychers, attacking and providing support from a distance. To deliver a fatal blow, we must use weapons at close range. They have to plunge the weapon into the dragon's weak point and release psychic energy, and the psyker soldiers who take on this mission are called strikers." Everyone was in awe. "Strikers are so cool." Wei Chen pointed and commanded, "Now! Today find a weapon that suits you. Pick one that matches your size." Li Han quickly chose a weapon. Wei Chen approached him. "You like the spear?" "The spear?" He nodded in acknowledgement. "Yes." The answer pleased him. "The wind I feel when I swing the spear is so satisfying and cool. I also like the sound it makes," Li Han said. The judgment and strength he showed against Sergeant Red were extraordinary. "I'm sure he has lived in an extremely harsh environment." "Yes?" Wei Chen smiled thoughtfully. "But thanks to that, he's gained the experience to fight." Then he encouraged him. "Do your best, Li Han." Li Han replied, "Yes, sir." Wei Chen added, "I will also do my best to help you." He nodded, his hand tightening around the spear. Time passed quickly. 2 weeks later, Li Han was in a sparring match. He looked at his opponent seriously, and Zhou looked back cautiously. Li Han spoke first. "You look tired, Zhou. You can just surrender." His opponent just smiled. "What did you just say?" You're the one who's taking it easy and trying to drag this out, you know, he said, continuing his attack. Li Han easily dodged and even countered, managing to disarm Zhou. Li Han rushed in to attack. Today is the second week of the first year. After Class President Zhou, I've finally defeated all the students in Class D with a weapon that suits me. I lose. Li Han smiled in reply. That was a good match. Li Han. Zhou continued. You probably already know this, but I'm transferring to Class C next week, so the position of Class President will be vacant. He then made a suggestion. That's why I think you should be the next Class President. The words surprised Li Han. I can't do it. If you don't want to, then, Zhou assured him. Everyone will follow you. We've already discussed it among ourselves. Hearing that, he felt embarrassed. Zhou and everyone else, thank you. He thought to himself, if I become Class President, I'll be one step closer to moving up a class, won't I? John declared irritably, You can't do it. This scene is so familiar. A discussion broke out. Sergeant Red, that bastard. You know he's not someone to mess with. I've been beaten up by him many times, too. The topic this time is John. That's not even the worst part. He gets into fights. Who's he fighting? Meanwhile, John, a first-year student, lights a cigarette. Other students were cheering for Li Han. Hey, first year. Good luck, sweetie. Fight well, you idiot. That kid heard you, so what? He doesn't even know who we are. He's just calling out the cowards. Li Han had already entered a combat stance when John asked, So this is the brat who wants to be Class President. Are you all going to let Class D be led by someone with underdeveloped powers? Someone who can't even master basic telekinesis? Is that your final decision? No complaints. John sighed and said, You idiots. But there must be a reason you've all put your faith in him, right, Li Han? He flinched when his name was called. John broke a mop handle and threw it at him. He began to speak. I hear no one in this class can stand up to you. In the weapon arts course, that is. Prove your strength by fighting me. Li Han replied nervously, with this, but the end is too sharp. John's gaze hardened. Are you worried that a rookie like you might actually hurt me? Li Han quickly denied it. No, sir. He had now taken off his jacket. Li Han asked curiously, Sir, are you going to fight me barehanded? John admitted it directly. Of course. You think I need a weapon to fight a kid? The rules are simple. If you can make any part of my body say a knee touch the ground, you win. He asked another question. Then when am I considered to have lost? John explained simply, You just have to admit defeat. Li Han replied with a smile. Then there's no way I'll lose. He started to move. John also got into his fighting stance. A clamor rose from everywhere. What is he really fighting? That kid's got some nerve. Looks like it. But how can he possibly fight against the instructor? Simon stepped closer curiously, then made a comment. That maniac. Li Han launched his attack. John continuously dodged, looking for an opening. Li Han leaped into the air. John quickly raised his hand to block. He easily caught him, then kneed Li Han before raising his foot to stomp down. Li Han barely dodged and backed away. He couldn't help but be shocked. Is he really trying to kill me? John continued his instruction. Unleash your emotions. Dragons and their minions slaughter their opponents indiscriminately. He even promised, I won't go easy on you just because you're weak. And then he added, if you face them head on, you'll find your current fear to be pathetic. Li Han finally retorted, Sergeant Red, with words that sharp, are you planning to fight with your mouth? John rushed to attack. Looks like you can still go on. He easily caught him. Li Han struggled with all his might, but was still thrown. He landed heavily and clutched his head in pain. John was surprised again. Since when did he... The crowd grew more excited. Come on. Li Han, break that smug nose of his. Li Han charged forward again. John was calculating on his end. Should I reevaluate his movements a bit? He was taken by surprise when the kid moved behind him and launched a lightning-fast attack. John had to continuously dodge. He silently noted, he's attacking me using centripetal force and acceleration. So this is why Ki praised him. His face showed his interest. I'm starting to like you, Li Han. Li Han backed away to gain momentum. John observed his movements. Your final finishing blow, I'll face it head on. Li Han struck down forcefully. John grabbed the stick, his face filled with killing intent. Then he reached out and grabbed him by the throat. A voice rang out, Why don't we finish the match right now? John directly demanded, Surrender. Li Han even used his powers. The onlookers grew worried. This is going a bit too far. John demanded once again, "Surrender. If this continues, you'll die," Li Han replied with determination. "Even if I die, I will not give up." Wave pushed through the crowd of students. He shouted, "Sergeant Red," and intervened in the fight. "Stop it right now." "Are you really trying to kill Li Han?" John remarked, annoyed. "Damn it, the kid won't surrender and I haven't lost either." Wave helped Li Han up. "What are we going to do?" He said grimly, "You don't." "I'm so sick of your training methods." John froze when he heard that. He yelled, "Shut up," and turned to leave. "I'll accept defeat. Because I never received a surrender from that student, I acknowledge his victory." And he didn't forget to add, "If we keep resenting each other like this, we won't be able to accomplish anything." Simon looked surprised. He was able to overcome his own limits and prove his true strength. Model. After he recovered, he was transferred to Class B. On a fresh morning in the long corridor of the academy, a girl spoke up. "Class B." John smiled and continued, smiled. "That's right. I was planning to put that student on the promotion list," she replied to him. "I can't believe he's being transferred from D straight to B." "Even so, will the higher-ups approve it?" John continued to explain. "Actually, he has more than enough skill to get into Class A, but the only barrier is his psychic ability." The person next to him added, "But the higher-ups always prioritize psychic ability." He replied, annoyed, "Those idiots are wrong." Then he began to give an example. "What we need in a dragon hunt isn't just magic like psychic abilities, but also an iron will to be able to drive a weapon into a vital point." In the midst of that fear, Li Han has all the makings of the #1 striker out there. If we miss out on someone with talent like that, just because his psychic abilities are slow to develop, that would be a real shame. Who knows, the kid I've chosen might just become the only one who can save the world. The woman exclaimed, "I've never seen you sing someone's praises that much before." "Didn't you hate Li Han?" John gently corrected her, "No. On the contrary, I like him even more." She replied, "You really are a cruel man, Sergeant Red." It was now the 7th day in the hospital. The girl standing in front of the hospital room asked, "Aren't you going in?" Coach Wavechin jumped, startled, and replied, "Huh." She looked at the basket he was carrying. "What are those?" Wavechin gently explained. "Just some snacks." She asked curiously, "Then why don't you go inside?" He pointed and said, "I probably shouldn't bother him." Li Han was sitting on the bed practicing controlling his power. His eyes glowed accordingly. The people outside watched nervously. The light flared brighter and both of them were excited, and then they quickly felt embarrassed. "That kid. He has really good concentration. You can go in now." Only then did Wavechin step inside. He smiled and started, "Long time no see, huh, Li Han? How are you doing, son?" Li Han replied politely, "Coach Wave, I'm fine, thank you, sir." Wavechin put the items on the floor. "I brought you some snacks." He accepted the kind gesture. "Thank you, sir." They began to chat. "So you'll be in Class B tomorrow. I'm very proud that you're always practicing your telekinesis skills." Li Han answered honestly, "Yes. Because my power level is below average, I thought I should practice my telekinesis before I go back." Wavechin smiled and praised him. "That's the right decision. It doesn't matter how well you do in weapons class. You still need to be able to use a bit of telekinesis as a psyker. The battles between psykers mostly happen in midair, so you have to be able to retrieve your weapon if you drop it during combat." As he said this, an idea came to him. A medical staff member asked, "Are you planning on going out at this hour?" Wavechin scratched his head and promised, "It won't be long." They went outside. Li Han looked around curiously. "Coach Wave, why are we at the gym?" Wavechin began to explain. "Li Han, looking at the progression rate of your psychic abilities, the probability of you awakening a cheat is extremely low, unlike how other people can produce a flame or use teleportation." He taught him sincerely, "It's best if you don't even dream of being able to do things like that." Then he issued a challenge. "So how can you fight?" Li Han was completely stunned. "The answer is extremely simple." Wavechin revealed his own power. "You will focus on training your telekinesis skill to its absolute limit. So telekinesis becomes my cheat," he thought to himself. "Reaching the limit of telekinesis," Wavechin explained as he moved. "Psychic abilities are just like our muscles. The more we use and train them, the stronger they'll get." He stopped in front of him. "The first rank of psychic ability is nothing more than an illusion. Your generation has more potential than us teachers." And then he smiled encouragingly. "So don't give up. Practice a lot, okay, Li Han?" Li Han let out a vow. Yes, sir. He stomped his foot on the ground, then looked up at the board. Li Han let out a sigh. He accidentally bumped into someone else. Demichi, what the hell are you looking down at? Who's this? And he called out his name. Li Han. Li Han was a little surprised. You know me. The guy chuckled and explained, Are you kidding? Everyone in class knows you. Then he added, Anyway, welcome. I'm the Class B president, Dmitry Vladimirovich Petrov. Li Han asked with concern, Do I have to call you that every time? Dmitry continued, You can just call me Dmitry. I hope we can be good friends, Han. After that, he invited him along. Perfect timing. It's free-form martial arts class right now. Follow me. They arrived at a room and Dmitry pointed forward. Li Han thought to himself, Martial arts is my favorite thing. The suffocating training schedule at the academy, the stress from his lack of psychic ability. He chose his weapon, and the anxiety of not knowing when he'd be expelled. He became wary. After all, this was the only place he could release all his exhaustion. Then he charged forward to attack. All the things pent up deep in my heart. Dmitry was completely surprised when Li Han charged at him, but the students got a sound beating. Li Han questioned them. Was that fun? You acted for Kuro's sake, and then you claim his ESP is what caused his death, and you guys are still lying on the ground. Is bullying the weak really that fun? Li Han warned them directly. You all should be glad there weren't any real fights during training. Off to the side, Dmitry muttered his observation about him. He cracked a smile. Just as I thought. He makes me want to fight him right now. Kuro, exhausted, looked down at the ground as someone approached him. The student jeered, What are you doing, huh? Get up, Kuro. But someone else cut in. Hey, it's my turn. Please help me. They were turning him into a joke. All right, then. Then I'll go third, okay? Help me. Kuro suddenly remembered Li Han. Just then, the group of students turned around. Huh? What's going on? Li Han was beating them up. He looked clearly annoyed. Kuro was completely shocked. Is that for real? Seeing Li Han, he reached out his hand wanting to call his name. But Li Han was already talking to someone else. Dmitry, is this how Class B practices freestyle martial arts? Kuro quickly pulled his hand back. Han Dmitry replied grimly, This is the merciless way of training. Our enemies won't spare their prey even when they're on the verge of death. He continued, The strange one here is you. That impulsive need of yours to save people, it will only lead him to his death. Li Han thought to himself, I can't argue with what he's saying. He clenched his fist. Dmitry, standing by, continued, Still 3 guys can't even take down one little kid. How pathetic. The guys who got beaten looked ashamed. He challenged him with a defiant tone, So Li Han, show them what a real fight looks like. Li Han, annoyed once again, said, Are you sure about that? Dmitry charged forward to attack. Li Han struggled to parry the blow. He quickly calculated his next move. If I block one more time, the spear will break. Li Han decided to dodge. I'll aim for Dmitry's legs. After he loses his footing, I'll make him stumble. He then swung his staff, aiming straight for his leg. Li Han silently declared, This will be the final blow, as he aimed for Dmitry's face. His foot had just touched the ground, allowing him to narrowly dodge the spear. Dmitry closed the distance. He slammed his head into Li Han's, knocking him backward. Li Han yelled, annoyed, Damn it, a headbutt too, I thought this was a martial arts match. Dmitry just smirked as he reminded him, You shouldn't just watch my weapon, you have to watch my movements too. I've been learning Sambo since the day I was born. If I had gotten a real hold of you back there, I don't think your bones would have ever set right again. Li Han slowly got to his feet. Is that all you really plan on, taking down a dragon with that Sambo of yours? He spun in midair before bringing his weapon down. The spectators were all stunned. Both of their weapons shattered. This guy, he was aiming for my weapon the whole time. Li Han kept wondering why Dmitry was charging at him unarmed. He tackled Li Han to the ground. I bet you don't want me to break your arm, do you? The crowd roared, chanting his name. Dmitry, Dmitry, Dmitry. If you've got the guts, then do it. Li Han issued a challenge. You don't have the guts. Everyone froze. Li Han was in agony. Dmitry slowly sat up. He spoke in a low voice. This is why I told you to surrender. You dirty fighter. Kuro was trembling with fear. Dmitry continued. I hate to admit it, but you're truly commendable. Even after I broke your arm, you didn't make a single sound. But he didn't even notice that Li Han was already back on his feet. Someone take him to the infirmary. A surprise attack. Li Han looked down at Demichi. All those people who fought you before. They must have cried out in pain from just one broken arm, right? He was still lying on the ground. Li Han continued his challenge. Get up. Let's finish the fight. But the cheering slowly died down. When Demichi saw his opponent had passed out, sometime later, he shot up in bed. This is... A notification chimed beside him. Incoming video message now playing. The caller was Major Kang. Excellent. You've exceeded my expectations, Li Han. Thanks to you, the kids are living very well. The Major promised him, I'll message you again next time, okay? Li Han just watched his little siblings on the screen. Goodbye now. He was very satisfied. The kids are fine. They've even gained some weight. He then turned to the person next to him. You're awake, hey. Demichi, can you please help me turn this off? Here. Demichi did as he was asked, but grumbled, Hell no. Why should I have to turn this thing off for you? Li Han explained nonchalantly. You broke my arm. Demichi snarled back. And you smashed my head in, you bastard. Li Han simply replied, That's the price you pay for being careless. Don't you remember that's the merciless way you taught me about? Demichi was utterly speechless. Li Han continued, I was honestly really furious that day. He said with sincerity, But I don't hold a grudge or want to blame you for it. Demichi smiled back. Same here. But next time let's fight in a proper tournament. Li Han's tone turned somber as he continued. I think I made a mistake with Kuro that day. He recalled what happened that day. I should have taken his hand instead of just getting into a fight. Demichi replied seriously, I understand why you'd think that. But you could die in your second year if you keep using it. This confused Li Han. What do you mean? The two of them started walking. He asked curiously, Hey, where are you taking me all of a sudden? Demichi answered cryptically, It's better if you see it for yourself instead of just hearing about it from me. Li Han muttered in surprise, The emergency room. Demichi went on to explain, This is the place where every single life can be saved, as long as the patient is still breathing. Someone was wheeled in. Li Han quickly dodged to the side. He silently wondered, What's wrong with him? Well, Demichi watched him and asked, You can probably guess how they're trained, can't you? Li Han pointed and continued, But aside from that, isn't that upperclassman the same age as us? The guy who just went in. Yeah, he's tall, but he seems way bigger now, kind of like my coach. Demichi scratched his head in thought before stating the obvious. When you're a second year, you'll start using enhancers. His words surprised Li Han. Your body will grow super fast and you'll become an adult. What? He chuckled and reminded him, Don't tell me you forgot. We have to fight dragons in the next 3 years, he added. They aren't going to wait for us to grow up. To his surprise, he heard a reply. Not bad. Demichi was taken aback. I've always wanted to become an adult quickly, Li Han explained, because for him that was the only way to survive. I've always had to fight against adults, and completely against them. A fist flew at him. Li Han was sent flying by a group of adults. They ganged up on him before leaving with a bag. Li Han spoke again. I don't need a happy childhood. The most important thing is that I survive. Demichi let out a breath. That's the iron will of an Arc warrior for you. He nodded and continued, I get what you mean, let's go back. John laid out the agenda. Today you will conduct a training exercise that is just like a real battle. He clarified a few things. You just need to act with precision. Now, just as you've been trained, we will depart at 16:30, but before that finish getting your equipment. Looks like we're getting parachute training, Demichi remarked excitedly. Don't tell me you're already missing your hospital bed, Li Han replied with a smile, examining the issued gear. Hey, this bag is completely full of food, he said, making a guess. Maybe this isn't just parachute practice. Demichi kept looking around. Some of these idiots have already forgotten the mission. He saw something. Look, Li Han, that guy, he said, pointing at Simon. That's him. His face lit up with excitement. He's the last genius of Arc, right? I'm itching for a fight with him. This is a parachute drop, dude, Li Han reminded him wearily. Simon from a distance looked over and wondered, what's wrong with that guy? Li Han glanced at Kuro, a pang of guilt in his heart. John hurried them along. Stop dawdling, get on the helicopter. The students scrambled to move. They climbed onto the aircraft under John's supervision. Multiple planes took off. "Let's go too," John muttered to himself. This is the last time those kids will be able to smile. A hand reached out. Lee Han. That was the first thing that came to my mind, and you appeared instantly. Kuro's memories surfaced. But now, no matter how long I wait, I can't see you. She thought of Lee Han. So, you're really not coming this time. And then she started to cry. Kuro was stuck in a tree. Back to 1 hour earlier. The planes were in the air. A question was asked, where are we? The ARC headquarters looked so small. The explanation rang out, you are now above a deserted island. This is your destination and also where your survival training will take place. John calmly added, the food rations in your backpacks will be enough for the next 2 days. For the rest, you'll have to fend for yourselves. Everyone was bewildered. Why did this turn into survival training? And we only have food for 2 days on a deserted island, Demichi smirked. It's a field trip. This is going to be a lot of fun. John continued his explanation, shocking everyone with the information. The instructors will be back to pick you up in 1 week. Try to survive until then. They pulled another person up. John turned his head. Is this kid the last one? The answer came quickly. Yes, sir, I don't think there are any more stragglers. He continued his questions. Have the kids been scattered? The other person reported, everything is going according to the initial plan, but 7 of them have already gathered and formed a team. John made a comment, even if they're just kids. They're not as naive as we think. These kids have all grown up. If things get out of control, the strong will rule. And instead of starving together, they'll definitely choose to rob each other. A fat guy sneered, thanks for the food, pal. I'm going to enjoy every last bite of this. They started dividing the loot. This idiot hasn't even touched anything. The fat guy waved his hand. Hey, we gotta leave some for the captain. Cax came over to look. He observed in silence. His next words were a curse. You morons. He cursed at them non-stop. I told you to gather as much food as you could before dark. Annoyance was written all over his face. You think I gathered all of you just to share food? Cax continued. We have to stick together and take from others. That way, not a single person will be able to look down on us. The fat guy agreed enthusiastically. That's right, they agreed. Whether it's Demichi or Lee Han, we'll take them all on. Even Simon is nothing, Cax remarked grimly. I suppose so. He turned his head. He heard a noise in the forest. The whole group understood. Hear that? That's our next prey. From the sea, a figure approached. Lee Han muttered to himself, I've wasted a lot of time. He scanned his surroundings. From the time he fell into the sea until now. He quickly came to a conclusion. This spot is too exposed. Lee Han calculated cautiously. I need to find a hiding place first. Then he headed into the forest. For those who had never experienced hunger or thirst before, panting as they walked 2 days' worth of rations would not be enough. Lee Han wondered if when pushed to the brink they would choose to exploit others. He asked himself if someone like Shimong had ever known hunger. Meanwhile, Shimong stood still. He looked at Demichi and demanded, Who the hell are you, and why do you keep following me? Demichi excitedly shot back, You're the genius del Sinome, aren't you? Let's have a match. Shimong glanced back with a serious expression, then turned and walked away. I don't want to waste my energy. Demichi hurriedly called after him. Hey, wait! He tried desperately to explain. Calm down, I don't mean you any harm, I just want to have one match with you, that's all. Is there something wrong with this guy's head? Shimong thought to himself. Demichi changed his plan. All right, then. Of course not. That would be too sudden, wouldn't it? Anyway, we still have plenty of time, so let's wait until we're closer. This guy is so troublesome, Shimong thought with annoyance. The sky quickly darkened into evening, and voices started to echo. He's just around here somewhere. Kak let out a sarcastic smile. For real? They found Kuro hanging. Help me, please. Why does this guy look so natural hanging from a tree? He thought, then reached out to grab the bag. He casually stole his belongings. Thanks, buddy. Hang in there, Kuro. Kuro stammered, trying to negotiate. Wait, if you take that bag... Can you help me get out of here? But Kak just replied sarcastically, If you weren't stuck in that tree, you probably would have been beaten to a pulp before we took your stuff. Consider yourself lucky. Just calm down and wait for an instructor to come help you. They left laughing. You won't die even if you starve for a week, probably. And it's about to rain too, so you won't die of thirst either, probably. Why do you keep adding probably at the end? Tears streamed down Kuro's face. This is so unfair. He didn't know what to do but cry, remembering their taunts. Stop your crying. It's disgusting. Kuro quietly wondered, did I do something wrong? Why does everyone despise me? Your crying pisses me off. Shut up. Kuro kept asking himself why. No real man would cry over something like this. I'm not allowed to cry even when I want to. Then he burst into sobs, his cries echoing through the forest. Kuro quickly grew tired. His eyes became vacant, unaware of his surroundings. Kuro started to hallucinate. He vaguely called out, Li-han. A figure rushed toward him, but Kuro didn't respond, his eyes shut tight. The figure was still there, but it quickly disappeared. The area fell silent, until a sound broke the silence. Li-han had actually appeared. He exclaimed in shock, what happened here? Li-han finished setting up the tent. Just then Kuro woke up. He looked outside. Li-han smiled and said, oh, you're awake? Li-han, Kuro replied, confused. He started to explain, this is our breakfast. Li-han added, I couldn't find your bag anywhere so you can share with me. Kuro hesitated before taking it. This isn't even enough food for one person. I really don't want to be a burden to him. He ate while crying. I should have said that. But I was just so hungry. Thank you. This idiot Kuro. He's truly pathetic. He thought and kept saying out loud, thank you so much. Li-han just gently suggested, let's go find some water after we finish eating, okay? Observation devices flew everywhere, transmitting images back to John. Otto reminded him from outside, Sir Sergeant, this is a no-smoking area. He answered gruffly, shut up. The man chuckled and continued, don't try to act all cool turning off the lights and everything. See any interesting kids? John pointed at a screen. One of them has already gone crazy. Look at this kid. A week on a deserted island, huh? Glute mumbled excitedly. How funny. All I have to do is survive, right? As for Glute, he's building a raft to return to a sea. Li-han tasted the water and then commented, it's fine, you can drink it. Drink as much as you can and remember to get some for storage. The two of them moved on. It's too difficult to move during the day. We should go back to the shelter. Li-han calculated in his head, we need to store enough food for the two of us for our time here. He looked around while Kuro was acting strangely. What can I find on this island? I can't even see any coconut trees. Is this why people resort to looting? He hurriedly stopped Li-han. Stop! Li-han stopped in his tracks, his foot right over a branch. They both looked down at the pit. It's a trap. It wouldn't have hurt me, but it would have trapped me for a few days. Li-han asked curiously, how did you know, Kuro? Kuro hesitated, and his explanation left Li-han confused. You said you could see it. Kuro became more flustered, and his words started to tumble out. I should say, it was sizzling, like the sound of something frying. Based on Kuro's personality, Li-han thought to himself, that's not a metaphor. He really did see it. He began to realize. An awakened trait. Perhaps it's the ability to predict the future. It's a very rare and superior skill. Then, as they walked and rested, this harsh environment on this deserted island, could it be the catalyst for Kuro? Li-han considered, this survival training seems like a good opportunity to prove Kuro's abilities. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Kak raised his binoculars. There are two of them. As he observed, he remarked, they don't have any bags. I guess they're carrying everything with them. A heavyset guy suggested excitedly, want us to go crush them, but Kax refused. They haven't gone far, they'll be back. Maybe they went to find water or something. He finalized the plan. Let's come back later and get them while they're resting. Kuro panted as he walked on. Finally, they made it back. He was exhausted. Ugh, my face. I just want to lie down as soon as I can. Li-han, on the other hand, was unfazed. All right, let's head inside. But he stopped him. Wait a minute, Kuro. Li-han observed, someone's been here, and they're gone. He remembered the marker stone he'd placed in front of the entrance and realized it had been knocked over. They turned to look and saw two sets of footprints near the tent with many more farther away. Li-han came to a conclusion. There's a high chance we'll get robbed if they're in a group. Let's pack our things and get out of here. Panting Kuro replied, got it. They kept moving as the sun began to set. Li-han muttered to himself, we need to find a good place to camp before dark. He then turned to Kuro. Do you see anywhere suitable? Meanwhile, Kuro thought to himself, I suddenly feel weird. It feels like my eyes are closing. Lee Han noticed something was wrong. Kuro, hey Kuro! His entire body began to glow, his eyes went white, and the shadow of a panther appeared. Lee Han panicked as it lunged to attack him. Kuro reacted instantly, shoving Lee Han out of the way. He created a gap between them just as the panther charged. Lee Han was completely caught off guard. The panther turned its gaze on him. Lee Han thought annoyed, damn it, my weapon. But the panther stopped short before letting out a roar. Lee Han squeezed his eyes shut, bracing for the attack. But then fire erupted. Hit by the surprise assault, the panther hastily fled. It was Joe who had launched the attack. Are you okay? Lee Han was completely stunned. Joe and Rose emerged from the flames. He called out Lee Han's name, looking for him. Lee Han, looking over, was just as surprised. Rose. Rose ran over, panting heavily, and asked, Lee Han, is that Kuro over there? Lee Han saw the bandage wrapped around Rose's leg and was alarmed. He pointed at the injury and asked worriedly, Your leg! Rose looked down and muttered, Oh, this. Looking closer, Rose's stance was a little shaky. He explained, Those damn bastards set a trap. I can barely even stand right now. Joe plopped down and sighed. It's a good thing we ran into you two. Hearing this, Kuro grew very worried. A trap? We saw one of those earlier, too. Lee Han, in contrast, was calmer. Yeah, he replied. Probably the handiwork of the same crew. Rose chuckled and raised a hand. So there are thieves in here, too. Not that I have any food for them to steal. Lee Han found this hard to believe and had to ask, What, why not? Amused. Rose patted his stomach and said, Right after this happened to my leg, I ate it all before anyone could steal it. Looking at him, he couldn't help but think to himself, Has he always been this much of an idiot? The boys then agreed to find a place to hide first. That evening, at the group's campsite, Cax sat outside the tent staring into the distance. He remembered the time he received his mission. He had asked in alarm, What? The man tried to persuade him. Just now, when you entered the airport, son, the sensors were triggered. It seems you have psychic abilities. He wanted Cax to join by convincing him it was a good opportunity. Cax, you should enroll. Cax still had other things on his mind. But father, what about the movie I'm shooting? The man lost his patience, gripping his son's shoulder tightly. He practically shouted, If you can become a psyker, you won't have to act like a clown anymore. You'll gain immeasurable fame and wealth. His face turned vicious as he spoke of his own ambitions. After the war ends, psychers will become this country's army. You could become a prodigy who gives orders to everyone. And just like that, Cax watched his father leave, having been given a mandatory mission. He stared after him and muttered, Son of a bitch. At the training area, Cax sat watching another guy work out. He didn't get it and mocked the guy. You've got a lot of energy to burn, huh? Demichi turned to see Cax casually eating a chocolate bar. As he ate, Cax advised him, We don't have much food left, you know. He asked Demichi, who was doing shoulder rotations, How are you going to last the remaining 5 days? While working out both arms, Demichi nonchalantly replied, I'm more of a physical type. He told Cax excitedly, If I want to become an elite striker, I have to train at least this hard. But he just pouted and scoffed. Idiot. Strikers are supposed to fight with their psychic abilities. Demichi found this hard to believe. After a moment, he composed himself, held his face in his hands, and said, I miss you so much, Lee Han. He's the only one who can fight me hand to hand. Cax seized on that crucial piece of information, pointing as he asked again, Lee Han, you've fought Lee Han before. Seeing Cax's expression, Demichi grinned and thought to himself, He took the bait. Thank you, Lee Han. Thanks to you, he's finally agreed to fight me. In another part of the training area, Lee Han had woken up. He greeted them cheerfully. Good morning, everyone. They were all gathered around a fire inside a cave. Kuro said in a low voice, Let's stick together until this training is over. Lee Han pointed to himself and the friend beside him, dividing up the tasks. Kuro and I will go look for some firewood and food. He then turned to their other friend. Rose, you're injured, he reminded him. So you should stay here and keep an eye on our hideout, okay? Rose nodded. Sorry to trouble you two. Lee Han enthusiastically told his teammates, No problem. Thanks to your fire-starting ability, we have an advantage in this survival training. You and Kuro go outside. You both talk about having a fire. Lee Han looks toward the lake surface and thinks, This means we'll be able to cook these things. Kuro, still very self-conscious and worried, points to himself. But how do we catch fish? We don't have any gear. Lee Han smiles, calls out to Kuro, gives him a bright smile, and says, "Thank you." Hearing this, Kuro is completely stunned and confused. Bewildered and anxious, he asks back, "For what?" Lee Han sincerely explains, "You saved me yesterday when I was in danger, and after that you even found a safe cave." He lowers his head slightly, speaking seriously. "I thought helping you was the best course of action." Lee Han continues telling Kuro, "But I realized I couldn't keep going like that." He confesses frankly to Kuro, "So I couldn't figure out a solution after that." Lee Han points a finger at Kuro and asserts, "But when we landed here, I was absolutely convinced you're a psychic genius." He seriously analyzes Kuro's strengths to help him understand, "You have the power to defend yourself and even to save me. We can get through this if we rely on each other." And finally, Lee Han affirms to Kuro, "Because we're friends." Hearing Lee Han's words, Kuro is filled with both happiness and sorrow. He remembers his own life as an anonymous orphan in Japan, a name given to him because of the color of his skin. The scornful voices, always echoed in his head ever since he was a child. "Cry, baby. Stop crying. Useless. You're pathetic trash. Idiot." The hurt child from all those years ago, and Kuro, of today, both start to cry. He's overcome with happiness, telling himself, "I have a friend who believes in me." Lee Han speaks up, trying to rally their spirits. "This is amazing. It's even better than I imagined. Now the thing we need to do is..." Both of them look down at the lake's surface. Kuro, now filled with confidence, gets to work. He channels his psychic abilities into the water. Kuro thinks excitedly to himself, "I can see it." He thinks in complete amazement, "I can see where the fish are." Lee Han watches Kuro's every movement and expression. Kuro's a genius. He can use clairvoyance from the very first day. If he uses near-future prediction and clairvoyance at the same time, we can easily catch fish without any gear. Suddenly, Kuro shouts, "Right now!" With a precise motion, he strikes down, sending a fish flying out of the water. Lee Han yells excitedly, "It worked!" Soon after, their basket is filled to the brim with big fat fish. On the third day of survival training, Lee Han, holding the basket, turns to Kuro and says, "You're in top form today. You caught 8 of them. You're amazing, Kuro." He laughs happily and replies, "I think I'm starting to get the hang of it." Then, as if remembering something, Kuro turns to Lee Han. "Joe is going to be so happy." He just grins slyly and teases, "That rascal." His scaling skills have improved too. "Kuro, wait here." Suddenly, a large tremor shakes the area. Both of them crouch down slightly, covering their heads. Lee Han is startled. He gets a bad feeling that something is wrong. He starts sliding down the mountainside to move. Faster. Lee Han hands the basket of fish to Kuro and yells, "Kuro, wait here!" Lee Han aims for the cave where their group is hiding and runs back. Arriving at the entrance, he wonders worriedly, what happened? He stops to catch his breath, panting as he observes the scene. Looking down, he sees his friends are not okay. Joe Demichi throws a wooden sword over to Cax and shouts, "Hey! Catch it, Cax, catch it." He then complains, "What do you think this is, aerial training? Bringing 2 weapons with you, no less." Demichi holds his head, exasperated, and explains, "Lately I've been thinking about using dual swords. It looks so damn cool." Cax wearily reminds his friend, "That's not the point." Demichi, a little confused, asks, "But then why'd you agree to a duel?" "Not that I'm complaining, I'm thrilled." Cax calmly answers, making Demichi feel uneasy. "If you intend to have a fair fight with Lee Han, then you must be Dmitry Vladimirovich Petrov, the class president of Class B, right?" He points the wooden sword forward and continues, "Furthermore, I heard you were recommended for Class A. I'm going to test for myself whether you're worthy." Hearing this answer, Dmitry laughs with delight and replies, "I'm starting to like you." Each holding a wooden sword, they charge at each other. Let's begin. Although this wasn't Cax's specialty, his performance was so skilled that Dmitry felt pressured, cursing inwardly, "Damn it!" As Cax suddenly stopped, Dmitry seized the moment to strike. This was his chance. But Cax easily dodged it and landed a critical blow on Dmitry. Seeing Dmitry start to stagger, Cax wonders to himself, "Is it over already?" Dmitry grits his teeth, refusing to give in, and retorts to Cax, "You don't really think so, do you?" Dmitry charges, swinging a powerful direct blow at Cax, forcing him off balance and sending him stumbling backwards. Dmitry seizes the chance and rushes forward with a relentless assault. He thinks, If you're backing down, I have the advantage. Demichi intended to use this barrage of attacks to keep Cax from fighting back. Cax grits his teeth in frustration. If this keeps up, this is really not going to be good. Demichi slashes at Cax's side, but Cax nimbly dodges. Truly angry now, Cax glares at Demichi. He attacks so fast it looks like multiple clones are surrounding Demichi. Demichi covers his head, dodging the blows and cursing furiously in his mind. Damn it, I need to watch my back. A moment later, he's at a disadvantage, retreating some distance. Cax presses his advantage, charging straight at Demichi with the wooden sword, but Demichi is no amateur. Demichi arches his back, smoothly dodging the move. Cax didn't expect that. He's slightly startled. Demichi does a flip, kicking the wooden sword from Cax's hand. He flips again, landing in a defensive posture. Pressing his advantage, Demichi charges, roaring, "This is the end." Demichi raises his sword high for the finishing blow. Cax has no idea what's happening behind Demichi, who suddenly freezes, unable to continue his attack. Cax, who had braced himself for the attack, opens his eyes in shock. He glances bewilderedly at Demichi. There is a wooden sword pressed against Demichi's back. From out of nowhere, Cax, elegantly sweeping his hair back, spoke up. "My apologies. If this were a one-on-one training match, you would have already won. But as I said, we're psychers." Cax looked up at the sky, thinking to himself, "Is Lee Han stronger than this guy?" In the cave, Lee Han held Rose's head, frantically calling out to him, "Rose, wake up!" Just then, Rose's body started to react. His lips trembled as he managed to say, "I..." Rose weakly opened his eyes and told Lee Han, "I'm not dead, Lee Han, stop shouting." A little while later, once all three of them were in the cave and Kuro had returned, they sat together around a fire. Lee Han asked, "Who did this to you, Rose?" With one cheek swollen, Rose tilted his head, thinking. He recounted what happened. "It was Cax's group. There are 7 of them." Rose grew agitated, his voice trembling as he continued. "They took all our food, but they'll be back. We'd better find another shelter." Lee Han, angry, gritted his teeth and replied, "No." His voice turned cold as he made his point to Rose. "I'm not nice enough to let those bastards get away with beating up my friend." Hearing this from Lee Han, the word resonated deeply with Rose, amigo, friend. The 3 of them set off together with Kuro carrying their belongings. Lee Han supported Rose as they walked. "For now, let's just find another shelter. We'll let them have this place for the time being." But in his mind, Lee Han had already made a vow. "We'll ambush them when the sun sets." That evening, Lee Han and Kuro scouted the surrounding area. The two looked towards the other group's cave, silently assessing the situation. "They're using our cave as their shelter, just as planned," Lee Han said with a sly grin, turning to psych up Kuro. "Kuro, begin whenever you're ready." He smiled and replied, "Yeah." The guys guarding the cave entrance were chatting amongst themselves. "I can't do this alone, but together we can take down those bastards." Kuro pursed his lips, thinking about his companion. "Lee Han is the only friend who trusts me." He focused, channeling his psychic powers to help Lee Han. "I will never let him down." Countless rocks controlled by Kuro flew towards the guys outside. They cried out in pain as the rocks struck them. "What the hell?" they yelled in chaos, shouting to each other. "It's an ambush!" Cax ordered the others outside. The guard screamed in pain as 2 rocks smashed into his knees. "Damn it!" They grabbed their weapons and rushed out, yelling, "Over there! Those guys are throwing rocks while running and dodging!" From a distance, Kuro could see everything clearly. "I can predict your trajectories." Once again, the rocks precisely struck the underlings. They yelled, "Damn it, I can't see anything, it's too dark!" Just then, Lee Han charged in, launching a surprise attack. He targeted them precisely, taking them down one by one. One of them fell right in front of Cax. He watched the scene unfold. Unable to keep his cool, Cax stepped forward to confront Lee Han, who was fighting the others outside. Lee Han raised his wooden sword, ready to face Cax. Lee Han held his wooden sword high, pointing it towards the most dangerous one, Cax. Cax glared angrily at his opponent, Lee Han. He wiped the blood from his face, observing and assessing him. "Lee Han? He took down 6 guys by himself." "No, that's impossible." Cax saw through their strategy and asked bluntly, "You didn't come alone. Who's the other one?" Lee Han called out loudly to Kuro behind the trees. "You can come out now, Kuro. I can handle this myself." Cax's face contorted with fury. "We were beaten by 2 weaklings, and one of them is Kuro." Lee Han gritted his teeth and declared, "We're here to get revenge for Rose. This isn't just some ordinary scuffle." So don't even dream that I'll go easy on you. Cax, losing his patience, grabbed his wooden sword and said, I've heard enough. He tied his jacket around his waist and raised his voice, challenging Li Han. Now let's settle this with our strength. Li Han was also ready. He replied to Cax, bring it on. Cax yelled and immediately charged at Li Han. Li Han swung his club straight at him, snapping Cax's head to the side in pain. Cax staggered back a fair distance before he could stop. Furious, he lunged forward, swinging his club to retaliate. Damn you, Li Han! But it was Cax who received a critical blow instead. He was more enraged than hurt, clenching his teeth in resentment. Li Han nonchalantly walked past Cax, sword in hand, and taunted, does it hurt? He turned back and advised Cax with a sincere tone, try to bear it. This is just the beginning. Cax spun around and yelled at Li Han, stop acting so smug! Immediately, Li Han turned and unleashed a barrage of attacks on Cax. Cax's sword was sent flying, and he fell face first to the ground, lying there defeated. Coughing up blood, he struggled to sit up, thinking to himself, this can't be happening. Just how strong is Li Han? Li Han looked at him and angrily demanded, Jose's hurt. Did you really have to beat him that badly? He walked towards Cass as he pushed himself up. Don't you look down on me, Cass thought. He grabbed a handful of sand, gritting his teeth in fury. How dare you look down on me? He thought about his own fame, a genius and a renowned German actor. His father had used that reputation to achieve his goals. His political ambitions while gaining so much in the process. Cass remembered his father's sinister face. But even that wasn't enough to satisfy his greed. His father had excitedly declared, once you become a psyker, this entire city will be ours. You have to push forward, Cass. Even if it means hurting other people. Cass tensed up and got to his feet, muttering, I won't let it end like this. He threw the handful of sand at Li Han. Then he roared, a bastard like you should just give up. The sand flew into Li Han's eyes. He squeezed them shut in pain, and Cass immediately lunged forward, punching him squarely in the face. Seeing this, Kuro rushed over, shouting in panic, Li Han! By now, Cass was grabbing Li Han by the collar. He looked up straight at Kuro, gritting his teeth as he threatened, don't you come any closer! Terrified, Kuro froze. Then Cass repeatedly punched Li Han hard in the stomach. Kuro watched his whole body trembling with fear. A moment later, Cass let Li Han go, and he immediately collapsed to the ground in pain. Then Kuro saw him pick up the sword. Cass gripped it tightly with both hands, gritting his teeth and muttering, I'll never let anyone surpass me again. Suddenly, a flash of blue light shot towards him. The blue aura around a rock vanished, and Cass blocked it with his hand, knocking it to the ground. He gritted his teeth and glared at Kuro. You! Kuro, using his ability, cried out, don't touch Li Han! Cass stepped towards him, staring him down, and demanded, so now you want to step on me too? Hearing that, Kuro got scared and deactivated his ability. Cass grabbed Kuro by the collar and said with contempt, I never liked you from the very beginning. How could a weakling like you ever belong at a sea? He continued, a worthless piece of trash like you should have been kicked out a long time ago. However, Li Han was already standing behind him, though Cass hadn't noticed. He clenched his fist and punched Cass right in the face. The blow sent him falling, his face slamming into the ground. Li Han furiously demanded, you think you're more useful than anyone else, huh? Stop being so damn arrogant. Thinking of everyone, he declared, Del Simon, Dimichi Jose, and even Kuro, they're all better than you. Cass froze, looking up with trembling eyes. Terrified, he backed away. Li Han advanced, raising the sword as he asked, there's always a bigger mountain to climb. What does that make you? He yelled, you're absolutely nothing. Terrified, Cass trembled as he stared at Li Han. Gritting his teeth, Li Han stabbed the sword into the ground, then looked at Cass with a cold smirk. The sword struck the ground right next to Cass's head. Li Han let go of the hilt. As he walked away, he said, everyone has a reason to become strong. If you want to keep improving, find a different way. And if you touch my friends again, I won't let you off this easily. Lying on the ground, Cass laughed sadly. Dad, I never wanted to become a psyker to begin with. He looked up at the night sky and scoffed. Later, a new announcement was made. Cass had voluntarily withdrawn from AC. Kuro helped Li Han back to the rendezvous point. Jose's face lit up when he saw him. Afterwards, the group went fishing together, continuing to survive on the island. The final 3 days on the deserted island were finally over. A fleet of helicopters flew overhead. Someone looked up and shouted, the rescue choppers are here. Joe sighed. I never want to experience anything like that again. Lee Han laughed and replied, You can say that again. Kuro, standing beside him, also sighed. Suddenly, everyone surrounded the three of them, calling out, Lee Han, Kurojo, thank you! The people around them started asking a flood of questions. We were only able to survive because you shared your food with us. How did you catch all those fish? Kuro, you were incredible. Joe, why did you hide the fact that you can use fire? They're so loud, Joe thought to himself. He scratched his head and mumbled, It was just... Jose pointed to Lee Han, who was standing behind him, and said, The person you should really be thanking is Lee Han over there if it weren't for him. Suddenly, everyone's bracelets began to glow. Lee Han looked down at the bracelet on his wrist as an announcement rang out. The survival training has now concluded. Congratulations to everyone for successfully completing the mission. A week later, Simon quietly called out, Sergeant Red. Demichi, sitting next to him, added, It makes me so happy just hearing the sergeant's voice. I'm hungry. John suddenly announced, You will board the helicopters when deployed. Lee Han was silently shocked. Why, when deployed? A moment later, the helicopters began to leave the island. John stood inside the lead helicopter, his lips pressed into a thoughtful line. With his hands on his hips, John looked at Lee Han's group sitting in their seats and began to speak. Your survival training was observed by supervisors. After the results of their vote, you four are the only ones who were chosen. He continued, This wasn't just some ordinary survival training anymore. This was a test to see which of you are the diamonds in the rough worthy of becoming humanity's guardians. John called out, Kuro, Simon, Demichi. All three immediately looked toward him. John declared, And Lee Han, you four are the members being promoted to level 2. A few days later, sunlight streamed down onto the training facility's soccer field. Rose smiled and called out, Lee Han, we have the day off today. You want to play some soccer? Lee Han, a book in his hand, looked up at Rose and then muttered, Soccer. Pointing to the ball he was holding, Rose asked, You know how to play, right? Lee Han put his book down on the bed and answered, Yeah. As he walked out to the field, he thought, It's rare to get a break at a C, and everyone's already gathered. Joe yelled out, No objections from anyone, right? All right, let's get started. Kuro sighed, muttering, I want to take a break. Demichi tilted his head to look at Simon and reminded him, No using psychic powers, you hear? I know. He's still mad. After that, the whole team started playing soccer. As Lee Han fought for the ball with Demichi, he thought no. At ACC, they only let you take a break for something important. Today, all the Level 1 instructors are in a meeting. He was thinking about the Level 2 evaluation. John sat grim-faced at the meeting table. Across from him, Ki Chen was staring daggers at him. A man spoke. Let's just get started. He was Alexander Rico, the chief of staff at ACC. A beautiful woman tilted her head and asked, We have 4 slots this time, so how are the kids? She was Sasa Greyhead of Research for Division 2. Alexander, Dab, Del, Simon, and Demichi. They lack nothing required for promotion. In fact, they exceed the standards. As for the other 2, the first one is... He looked over at Lee Han playing soccer outside, then said, Lee Han. Ever since enrolling, the kid's psychic energy has always been the lowest. As he and Simon were fighting over the ball, Alexander continued, If not for the special treatment from John Red, he'd still be in Class D. And yet he was selected as a candidate for Level 2. Alexander rested his chin on his hand, frowned, and commanded, Why would we promote a child like that? State your reason. Kui Chen spoke up. Sir, as you must have seen from the incident with Sergeant Red, Lee Han has excellent weapon skills, patience, and willpower. The kid has everything a soldier needs. Alexander said, Praise like that doesn't sound like you at all. Kui Chen... John glanced at him and thought, You old fox. If I don't praise him, you'll never approve the kid's promotion. John recalled Lee Han's skills, analyzing them. Besides his psychic potential, Lee Han's teleportation skill is also quite ingenious. Come to think of it, it seems like he combines it with his spin skill to make his attacks more powerful. John continued his thought. What's even more incredible is that he came up with those ideas all on his own. Meanwhile, Lee Han skillfully dribbled the ball past Simon. And he didn't even need to be taught, he said. At that exact moment, Lee Han took a shot at the ball. The ball immediately flew straight into the team's goal, the opponent. Alexander pondered for a moment, then ordered, Next candidate. Out on the field, Jose shoved Lee Han's shoulder playfully. "Hey, you bastard! You said you've never learned before, but you're pretty damn good." Lee Han laughed and replied, "What can I say?" Demichi and Simon were bickering constantly. "Isn't your famous brother a good soccer player?" "What's that got to do with me?" "How should I know? Are you an idiot?" Inside the meeting room, Sasa slammed the table and shouted, "Are you kidding me?" She glared at Kuro's info on the screen and asked, "Psychologically sensitive?" Sasa looked straight into his face and said, "Right after he gets promoted during the psychological transformation surgery, the most important thing is their psyche." She angrily questioned, "Are you telling me to kill that child?" John closed his eyes and sighed. He looked up and said, "Kuro's psychological progress is the best. He's far better than those so-called geniuses. Plus, the kid has the ability to foresee the near future. That's crucial for our strategy." Alexander, resting his chin on his hand, countered, "But the problem is his psyche." John argued, "That's exactly why Lee Han needs to be promoted with him. Kuro's mental state is heavily influenced by Lee Han." He continued, "Lee Han is playing the role of his older brother." Alexander took off his glasses, pinched the bridge of his nose, and muttered again, "Is Lee Han, huh?" He questioned, "It seems you two are very eager to have Lee Han promoted, aren't you?" Kuei Chen and John glanced at each other. Out on the soccer field, Lee Han spun past an opponent. He quickly kicked the ball forward. Jose understood the signal and ran for it. He got the ball. "Nice pass," he praised. Jose dribbled past two other players. He yelled, "Come on, try and take it." The goalie stared nervously at Jose. He quickly scanned his surroundings and saw Demichi and Simon standing in front of the goal. He thought they're all gathered here. Jose suddenly passed the ball to the left. Lee Han ran up and immediately received it. He took a shot and the ball flew straight into the opposing goal. Everyone stared at Lee Han in amazement. "Goal!" Jose yelled happily. He went over to high-five Lee Han and praised him. "Great job, Lee Han." He replied cheerfully, "We make a good team, huh?" Just then John approached and ordered stop playing. He looked at Lee Han and Jose and said, "The promotion evaluation is over. The announcement will be made soon." Everyone on the field immediately stopped. John continued, "But since everyone is already gathered here, and I'll announce the results right now." He declared all candidates have been promoted. At this, Lee Han froze. Jose came over, smiled, and patted his shoulder. He asked, "What's wrong?" Lee Han called out, "Jose." He laughed and said, "Congratulations on the promotion." Jose laughed heartily and continued, "Remember to save a spot for me." Lee Han smiled at him. He extended his hand towards Jose, then said, "We'll meet again, Jose." The two of them shook hands. John, standing nearby, sighed and ordered, "Head back to the dorms." He continued, "Those who were promoted, pack your things and gather." Lee Han turned to face John. "Thank you, sir." John froze, staring at him in confusion. Lee Han continued, "Today's rank-up evaluation and the D-class selection, I believe it's all thanks to you, Sergeant." Pulling out a cigar, John replied, "I'm not so sure you want to be thanking me. From now on, you can't quit. If you manage to complete level 2, you'll be seeing me again." He bit down on the cigar and smirked. "Survive, Lee Han." Lee Han raised his hand in a salute. John turned and walked away. That afternoon, after packing up all their things, Lee Han's group gathered in the courtyard. Demichi laughed loudly. "All right, let's go, gentlemen." Simon, standing beside him, shot him an annoyed look. Kuro trembled as he looked at them both. Lee Han walked over and asked, "We're heading to Area 2, right?" Tears started streaming down Kuro's face. A hand rested on his shoulder. Kuro looked up. "Lee Han?" Lee Han smiled reassuringly. "Don't worry, we're in this together." He hesitated, then mumbled, "But I'm scared. We have to get surgery to become adults." Demichi shouted excitedly, "What's there to be scared of?" "Let's go." Simon frowned at him. "Why are you so excited?" Demichi immediately replied, "We can get way stronger than we are now." In Area 2, a voice called out, "Hello, kids!" Sasa stood before Lee Han's group and introduced herself. "For the next 5 weeks, I'll be the one looking after you. My name is Dr. Sasa Gray." Lee Han asked in shock, 5 weeks? She pointed to the equipment behind her and answered, "It takes your bodies 5 weeks to become adults. The first 2 weeks will be in the pressure chambers. The following 3 will be for rehabilitation training." Demichi, Simon, and Kuro were horrified. 2 weeks in that thing. Lee Han frowned and called out, "Everyone!" He held out his hand. "See you in 2 weeks." They all looked at him and understood. Then the group shouted together, "Promise!" "All right!" Sasa crossed her arms, watching the scene, and thought to herself, "Incredible. So this is the one Sergeant Red recommended so highly." Demichi gave Lee Han a thumbs up. "You too." Simon curled his lip in contempt. How childish. Suddenly someone called Lee Han's name. 1 week earlier, 2 researchers were conducting an experiment. Kuro and Simon were tied up inside chemical immersion tanks. Demichi was trapped inside one as well. He cursed in his mind, "Damn it, this is disgusting." Lee Han was also submerged in the chemical below. He screamed internally, "I can't breathe." Sasa observed the scene, beginning her mental evaluation. They're overcome with fear. Every kid who goes through this feels the same way. I'm sorry. Just hang on a little longer. You'll all fall into a coma soon. Inject the needle and add the surgical tools once they're comatose. Her hand began to tremble as she monitored the situation. It's been a week now. Luckily, nothing's gone wrong. Today's procedure will be their most critical moment. Sasa looked at the 4 figures in the test tubes, wondering to herself, does humanity really have to go this far, just to deserve to exist? An assistant researcher at her side walked over to check on her. "Dr. Gray, are you tired?" Seeing the look on her face, the female assistant gently advised, "Please go get some rest." Sasa shoved her hands into her pockets and walked wearily outside. She forced her heavy eyelids open, looking around. Sasa went inside and questioned the man casually smoking a cigar. "I thought you said you didn't like kids," she asked, annoyed. "So what are you doing here at my lab every single time?" John's face was cold as he answered her, "Doctor, I'm here to make sure you don't damage my property or kill them." Hearing this, Sasa bit her lip in frustration. She sat down in the chair opposite him and retorted, "There aren't any problems. We're currently in the middle of the phase of inserting the second culture fluid, because what this process really is introducing a second culture fluid containing the dragon soul core, a concentrated liquid that dilutes a dragon's heart." John began to ponder this, and taking a drag from the cigar in his hand, he thought, if the kids are forced to resonate with a dragon core, they should be able to use the dragon's spiritual power more easily. In that case, Lee Han should be able to... Suddenly, the smartwatch on Sasa's wrist let out an alarm beep. Upon receiving the signal, she immediately ran to the lab. John followed right behind her. Sasa urgently opened the door and asked, "What's wrong?" An assistant inside the lab frantically reported the boy's consciousness. She urgently reported Lee Han. "He's regained consciousness. He's in a lot of pain." Sasa's face twisted in distress. She reached out a hand, demanding, "We have to stop this." Suddenly, a hand grabbed her arm. Sasa turned in surprise to see who it was. Her voice trembled as she called out his name. "Sergeant Red. Why?" He walked forward and commanded Sasa in a stern voice, "You can't shut it down, Doctor. No matter what that kid has to make it to level 2. On another day in Sasa's private office, she sat across from Lee Han, her hands clasped, and asked, "How are you feeling?" Lee Han smiled brightly and replied, "Thanks to you, I feel great." Sasa, now serious again, warned him, "Listen, there has never been a case like yours before. This is the first time we've seen a case of a psyker resisting psychic energy. In the critical situation before, when Lee Han was in pain, she was frantic. Are you crazy? If this continues, the kid will die. I have to stop the glass chamber now." But John firmly insisted that Lee Han wasn't someone recognized for his psychic abilities. He grabbed both of Sasa's hands, preventing her from stopping the experiment. "Continue the process, Doctor, but no more psychic resonance. If it's that kid, he can overcome it." In the present, Sasa recounts this to Lee Han. "You are the only special case who has developed only physical strength. Do you feel any discomfort anywhere? Like your body feels disconnected, for instance, or..." Lee Han calmly answered her, "I actually feel really refreshed. Plus now I feel like I have less to worry about." Sasa tucked her hair back and evaluated Lee Han again. The boy's mentality is really stable. I guess he's the trainee Sergeant Red always praised for having a much better mentality than the others. She thought back on Lee Han's case. Psychic energy resonates directly with one's psyche. So why would a kid with such a stable mentality have such low psychic energy? All right, you can go now. I'm sure it has something to do with suppressing the development of his psychic energy. Lee Han stood up, walked out, and closed the door. Demichi was outside and said excitedly, "I came to see you, Lee Han. Starting today, we're level 2 Simon, who had also undergone a physical transformation, stood in the back observing everyone. Lee Han walked up to Demichi. 5 long weeks, but they went by so fast. He looked at everyone excitedly, pointing to each person. Everyone has changed so much. In particular, Lee Han pointed to his friend, calling out, "Kuro." He smiled and said to the other three, "I'm so glad everyone made it out alive." But Simon didn't look very happy. He scowled and said, "Glad about what? That was a given. Stop being so arrogant and acting like you're the team captain." Lee Han and Demichi shrugged, teasing each other about Simon. He's definitely going through puberty. Stop teasing him. At the level 2 dormitory, it didn't look much different from level 1 from the outside. But from level 2 onwards, you start training in teams. Lee Han, Demichi, and Kuro were ready to train. Each team will have about 4 to 10 members. Currently, there are 12 level 2 teams. Lee Han looked around, a little doubtful, thinking, we suddenly have our own dorm room. Kuro and I were assigned to Team 7. A man walked in smiling as he introduced himself. I'm Katasuki, the captain of Team 7. You two are Kuro and Lee Han, right? He announced to everyone present, once you reach level 2, you have to train in many things, but there are only 3 main types. Pistols, fighter boards, and sparring. Kato approached Lee Han and asked him, do you guys understand why you have to practice shooting pistols? Lee Han held his head high and answered, we were taught that modern weapons can still fight against the minions. He recounted what they already knew for everyone. That's right. The minions we've known so far all have low intelligence like goblins, boars, or werewolves. Later, a more intelligent species called the Elu appeared, who act as commanders for the mid-level ones. Those Elu bastards can even use psychic energy. If the Elu use psychic energy, doesn't that mean physical weapons won't do anything to them? To them? Good question. That's right, they aren't affected by physical weapons. But their psychic energy has limits, just like dragons. Our goal is the moment they run out of energy. He seemed extremely excited, pointing as he said, just like firearm training, fighter boards and sparring are equally important. It's the competitive combat method between teams. Sparring sessions will be held in artificial forests through small-scale combat training arenas. The main event is capture the flag, meaning you steal the flag from the opponent's home base. It requires teams to build strategies and focus on each member's abilities, but this is a very dangerous form of training. Those training sessions are extremely harsh and have a high injury rate because even without a blade, steel weapons can still cause very serious injuries. As for fighter boards, in other words, it's learning how to use a flying board. This one is the easiest. You just have to make your opponent fall. But you always have to have someone providing support from behind. The support members have to control countless different flying boards to help their teammates move around. In rare situations, the support member even has to use the flying boards to attack the opponent. Kato walked over, pointed at Kuro, and explained to him, until now, we haven't had a psyker strong enough to be our support person, to support the team, but now you're here, so we don't have to worry anymore, Kuro. Hearing this, Kuro remained expressionless, but it seemed things weren't as Kato had said. Kato then slyly added, you can do it right. Hearing this, Kuro stammered a bit, well, about that. An unhappy man walked up and warned Kuro, can't you give a definite answer? We're not asking for your opinion. Once you're on a team, you have to fill the position your team is missing. While Kuro was still flustered, Lee Han stepped in to help him out. If it's Kuro, he can definitely do it. But he's not the type of person who does well when he's being pressured. Sakuro! That man leaned down and shouted in Lee Han's face, shut up, newbie! What do you know? Kato once again put on a phony smile to advise his subordinate, stop it. Lee Han has a point. It's their first day here after all. They still have a lot to learn. He turned to the training group led by Lee Han and said, Lee Han, even though we're both level 2, everyone else here are your seniors. They have more experience than you. You should watch your attitude. Kato kept that fake smile on his face, saying, to be honest. And at that moment, he opened his small, cunning eyes. With a hostile tone, Kato declared once more, you're only here because I wanted Kuro on the team. The two of you are like a package deal. Buy one, get one free. Then he put that smile back on and continued to mumble, I don't expect much from someone with low spirit power like you. Just try not to get in our way. Lee Han lowered his head, trying to suppress his anger. Then he looked up and spoke unexpectedly. I understand. He became unusually cheerful as he replied to Kato, I'll do my best not to get in your way, Captain Kato. Although Kato was a bit confused by Lee's attitude, Han acting like that was strange, but he reluctantly agreed, fine. He extended his hand. Lee Han calmly shook it. With a grimace, Kato silently cursed Lee Han in his mind. Arrogant little brat. Let's see how long you can keep that up. Lee Han knew exactly what he was thinking. He just smiled calmly and thought, I'll show you just how much I can endure. Back in the break room, Lee Han pushed open the bathroom door. He turned on the shower, closed his eyes, and let the hot water wash over him. His mind recalled today's practice drill. Warning, firing range active. At that time, Lee Han was focused firing continuously alongside his teammates. His body shook slightly from the recoil of the gun. Kato stood watching the whole team. His eyes narrowed. After the volley of gunfire, everyone quickly got up and moved out. Lee Han, gun in hand, ran while scanning his surroundings as the robots approached. Lee Han sped up while aiming and firing at them. After finishing his shots, he glanced back at Kato, the corner of his mouth turning up slightly. Not a bad result. Surely Kato can't call me the team's dead weight anymore, right? Just then, Lee Han made eye contact with Kato. It seemed he had also been watching him intently. The very next second, he turned around and yelled loudly, "Kuro, what are you doing?" Kuro was still standing in the same spot, looking extremely flustered, his limbs clumsy. Seeing this, Kato clutched his head in exasperation. He gritted his teeth and muttered, "Damn it, I'm speechless." Lee Han silently watched Kato's back. The memory ended there. As Lee Han washed his hair, he thought to himself, isn't he good enough to be acknowledged yet? A moment later, the bathroom door was pushed open and steam billowed out. Lee Han, with a towel wrapped around his waist, began drying his hair with his hand. He then recalled the private team meeting. Kato had pointed at him. His eyes narrowed into a smile as he said, "You'll be on the reserve team, Lee Han." The reason he gave sounded very legitimate. In the team practice battle, having too many members means we have to cut down the numbers to be efficient. Our team is one of those with a surplus of people, and we have a lot of close combat fighters like you. Kato stood up from his chair, walked over to Lee Han, and patted his shoulder. Everyone at level 2 gets to watch the practice match at the training center, so don't be too sad. You still get to watch, you know. As he recalled that moment, his gaze fell upon his phone. Lee Han picked it up, telling himself, "It's fine. Everything is fine." Meanwhile, in the central monitoring room, quite a few people were watching the large screen. Today's Capture the Flag match would be between Team 3 and Team 9. Kato and the blonde-haired team member were also there. Kato even pointed at the screen, smiling as he said, "Team 3 has some new faces, so let's watch them carefully and analyze their strategy." Lee Han had also arrived. His face hardened. "The new face on Team 3, he means Deo Shimon." A screen was showing footage of Shimon's team. A loud shout rang out, "That bastard is Deo Shimon." Many people were focused on Shimon. They started murmuring amongst themselves, "A psychic genius. He looks so crude." Out on the field, Team 9 was cautiously looking ahead. Their captain gritted his teeth and said, "Have those lunatics lost their minds? Sending all their members to attack like this?" The captain of Team 3, however, just pointed at the opposing group. He flashed a smug and confident smile. "We've got an unbeatable Esper on our side." As he spoke, Shimon was already channeling his psychic power. "We're going to completely wreck you guys, and we'll easily take all of your flags." The captain of Team 9 angrily shouted an order to his members, "Stop screwing around! Take that guy down before he uses his psychic powers!" Suddenly, they stopped, looking completely bewildered. "Wait, what's happening? Our weapons—" Shimon seized the opportunity and charged forward like a flash of lightning. It was only then that the others realized something was wrong. They all tilted their heads back to look at the sky. How did he do that?" Shimon gritted his teeth and raised his hand. The weapons that had suddenly vanished from their hands reappeared and slammed into them. Seeing the opening, the captain of Team 3 shouted to the others, "They're wide open, attack now!" Shimon had already stopped. He stood aside to let the others finish the job. Team 9 was completely suppressed, getting hit by Team 3's members with wooden swords while their captain quickly snatched the flag, securing the victory for his team. There's no need to watch anymore. They had more than enough power to win. Through the screen, Kato, sitting in his chair, pointed towards Kuro. He smiled and said, "Having a talented Esper in a practice match really makes all the difference, you know. The strategy I proposed was pretty similar. We can do this because we have Kuro." He seemed pretty flustered when he heard that guy talk. The next second, Lee Han stepped forward and said seriously, "Captain, I have a different idea." He then bluntly analyzed the recent match between the two teams. Team 9 didn't use any specific tactics. They didn't take advantage of the terrain either. They just attacked with their individual skills and strength. He suddenly paused, his words left unfinished. Kato's expression darkened. His tone turned cold. "If what, say it. His eyes flashed with hatred. "If you were the captain, that's what you were going to say, wasn't it?" Seeing his reaction, Li Han pressed his lips together, saying nothing more, and thought to himself, "Now I get it. The reason this guy hates me so much." Suddenly, someone from behind called out to him, "Li Han!" It was the blonde team member. He jerked his thumb outside, signaling for him to follow. Li Han didn't hesitate and went out with him. The blonde guy spoke to him bluntly. "I'll admit it. You're very strong, Li Han. Kato and I have always acknowledged that." The blonde guy looked at Li Han with a serious gaze. "But you're not a good fit for Team 7. All the team members feel that way." Hearing him say that, Li Han was sure Kato was testing him. Out loud, he probed, "Why do you think I'm not a good fit for Team 7? The blonde guy frowned and replied, "During training, you're not afraid to speak up and go against Kato's ideas, even though I agree that your suggestions are actually better." In his mind, he pictured a two-headed snake. But Team 7 only needs one leader. If there's someone on the team who doubts and opposes Kato, the whole team will be divided. The blonde guy advised Li Han sincerely, "As long as Kato is the captain, you won't be able to participate. Should in the practice matches. You should submit a request to transfer to another team when the time is right." He closed his eyes halfway, his tone surprisingly light. "So that's how it is." After that short conversation, the two of them split up and went in opposite directions. Li Han clenched his fists. "Now I get it. A captain needs the trust of all his team members. I've threatened his position." He lowered his head slightly, unable to stop considering it. The blonde guy's suggestion, a team transfer request. Soon it was late afternoon. Li Han was now standing at attention in Wei Chen's office. He was holding a piece of paper in his hand. With a surprised expression, his eyes filled with disbelief as he asked, "Li Han, is this for real?" Li Han immediately replied in a clear voice, "Yes, sir." Receiving his confirmation, Wei Chen had to support his forehead with his hand, hesitating before he spoke. "I see. However, the Level 2 professors will have to discuss this first. It will probably take quite some time." Back in his room, Li Han sat on his bed and thought, "Good. I needed to do this anyway, so it works out for me." He clasped his hands together, his face showing clear determination. "I can focus on training my own abilities. Since I don't have to worry about the practice matches anymore, I can use the waiting time to analyze all the team battles and create my own strategies." Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Li Han called out, "Come in!" The door quickly opened. Kuro smiled and called his name Li Han. He sat down at the foot of the bed and asked curiously, "What did you talk about with the vice captain just now?" Li Han skillfully brushed it off and changed the subject. "It was nothing much. How are your preparations for the flight board match tomorrow?" Kuro replied immediately, "I can now control 4 flight boards at the same time." Li Han was a little surprised and asked, "Without anyone on them?" Kuro answered honestly, "No, with people on them." Hearing that, Li Han expressed his admiration, which made Kuro a little embarrassed. "Really, it seems your psychic ability is improving really fast. I think you could become one of the strongest Level 2 espers." He let out a breath and smiled encouragingly at Kuro. "Don't worry, Kuro. I'll be cheering for you." He turned to look at Li Han with a grateful expression. "Yeah." The next morning in the assembly hall, many people were talking and discussing excitedly. "I heard there's someone really strong on Team 7, too." "Yeah, his name's Kuro or something." They were all looking forward to the upcoming match, wondering what kind of abilities he would show. As a reserve member, Li Han wasn't participating in the battle. He also went to the hall to quietly watch over Kuro. Inside the battle room, the two teams had walked out. Kato glanced back and said to Kuro, "All right, let's go. Make sure you back us up, Kuro." He walked behind them, nodding slightly, his face tense. An announcement rang out from the large screen in the assembly hall. "Team 1 versus Team 7, team competition aerial battle." Li Han stood in the crowd watching the match without blinking. The core of aerial battles is the flight board, he thought to himself. Most dragons can fly, so we have to be able to fight in the air. Besides parachutes and grappling hooks, flight boards are also used. They're a type of automated drone that provides a foothold in mid-air. Some weaponized versions can even fire projectiles. Model. He remembered the theoretical knowledge from his aerial combat classes very clearly. Usually one person controls 2 flight boards, which can be used for movement or as weapons against opponents in this match. Most people's attention is drawn to the one with psychic abilities, and the most important position in aerial combat is the support whose role is to control a multitude of flight boards. At the same time, from the rear, in order to minimize the amount of mental energy the team needs to use. Lee Han looked at Kuro's image on the screen. That position was perfect for Kuro because he could control 4 flight boards at once. But in the arena, Kato smiled, raising his hand forward. Let's go, Team 7. If we just stick to the strategy, we'll definitely win. He loudly ordered the other 3 members to charge forward. Team 1 also advanced quickly on their flight boards. Team 1 is in position. Seeing this, the blonde vice-captain of Team 7 smirked. He thought, Team 1 is slowly advancing together just as Kato predicted. Meanwhile, the 2 Team 1 members at the front nodded to each other, giving a signal. They split to the sides, dividing into 2 groups to attack from the flanks. However, right after they separated, one member's face filled with panic. Team 7's vice-captain had appeared out of nowhere in front of him, ready to strike down. The Team 1 member couldn't react in time and was knocked off his flight board. Another member of Team 1 was also hit hard in the head with a wooden sword by a Team 7 member. Blood immediately gushed from his mouth as he too fell from his flight board, still muttering in disbelief. How could... Kato, observing from the side, was extremely pleased with that last combination. Excellent, just as I planned. In the auditorium, everyone cried out in shock. What? They took out 2 people right at the start. Has Team 7 always been this strong? It's like they knew what their opponents would do next. Lee Han stood among them. He recalled his team's meeting before today's match. Kato had said seriously, "Your role in this strategy is crucial, Kuro. Team 1 doesn't have a skilled support. Each of them will control their own flight boards. Since you can control 4 boards at once, you'll be responsible for controlling the vice-captain's board and mine." He placed this great responsibility on Kuro's shoulders because Kuro had the ability to see the near future, allowing him to control the flight boards after observing their future movements. He answered awkwardly, okay. After hearing this, the blonde vice-captain seemed to understand, slapping his hand down and saying, I get it. Since our close combat skills are excellent, you're saying we should focus on that and take them all down right. Kato laughed and replied, exactly. Back in the present, Lee Han thought to himself, looks like Kato's strategy is working, at least for now. In the arena, the vice-captain turned to Kato with a confident smile. All right, let's move up. Kuro, standing in the back, was trembling uncontrollably. Cold sweat beaded on his face, showing how incredibly tense he was. I can't make a mistake. Everyone will lose because of me. His eyes widened as he used all his psychic power to control Kato's and the vice-captain's flight boards. Just then, the hooded member of Team 1 landed a hit on Kato. He quickly returned to the other remaining team member. Both of them were panting heavily. These damn bastards. Have they always been this strong? I can't believe it's just the 2 of us left. All 4 close combat members of Team 7 were forming a defensive line protecting Kuro at the very back. The hooded member looked past the 4 of them, aiming for him. If we can't take down their support... His expression darkened as he raised his hand, signaling the remaining team member to proceed with the plan. Adi! The other member immediately understood and got into an attack stance. The hooded member of Team 1 charged forward, letting out a loud yell. Kato raised his sword in warning, alerting the other members. He's coming. He couldn't help but worry. Is this going to be a one-on-one fight? As the hooded member rushed forward, the other member took advantage of a blind spot and simultaneously lunged forward. That guy grabbed both Kato and the blonde vice-captain with his bare hands, then pushed his flight board towards the hooded member to let him advance. Kato and the vice-captain couldn't break free from his grip. The faces of the Team 1 members showed clear panic. Damn it, we fell into a trap! Stop that bastard! The hooded member of Team 1 easily shot past, the 2 remaining members of Team 7 heading straight for Kuro. Seeing him easily get by, one Team 7 member hurriedly gave chase. Seeing this, Kato yelled loudly at him, Stop! Don't chase him, get over here. This bastard is trying to take us down with him. The Team 1 member was using all his strength to hold on to him, and the blonde vice-captain's sweat pouring down his face. In the auditorium, Lee Han saw the current situation and grew extremely worried. But, no, they have to go protect Kuro. If Kuro gets separated from the team... During the pre-match meeting, Kato had specifically instructed Kuro, flight boards 4 and 8 must always stay behind you. And right now, the hooded member of Team 1 was getting very close to Kuro. He tried to regulate his breathing. Panicked, he still remembered Kato's words. Flight boards 4 and 8. He controlled the 2 boards, bringing them back. At the same time, he aimed them at the Team 1 member. The two flight boards shot forward, about to slam into him, but he was still determined to attack Kuro no matter what. Up ahead, the other member of Team 1 seemed to have run out of strength. He had no choice but to let go. He went into a freefall to the astonishment of the three Team 7 members. A second later, Kato realized the problem and immediately turned to look behind him. But what was happening back there? The hooded member of Team 1 had knocked out Kuro. He stood proudly looking at the members of Team 7, a smug smirk on his face, because they were no longer under Kuro's control. Kato's and the blonde vice-captain's two flight boards became useless. Both of them fell. Kuro was unconscious. With only one member left on each side in the main hall, no one could have predicted the match would come to this. It's turned into a one-on-one battle. It looks like Kuro is the one controlling their flight boards, but their defense is just too weak. Like everyone else, Lee Han looked up at the big screen. He pressed his lips together, thinking, so that's how it is. Kato's strategy relies heavily on Kuro's exceptional psychic abilities. Even when he was about to be hit just now, Kuro still tried to counterattack. He tried to hit his opponent by controlling two flight boards, but they never made contact with the Team 1 member. Feeling the heat behind him, the guy turned his head to see both flight boards exploding in flames. Kuro was cornered, his whole body trembling in panic. The Team 1 member let out a sigh of relief and raised his wooden sword. That's too bad, Lee Han thought to himself, recalling Kuro's tense state. Kuro must have been fighting under incredible pressure to make a mistake like that in the end. A few minutes later, an announcement blared from the screens, mixing with the roar of the crowd. Team 1 wins. Lee Han quickly left the area. His expression was firm. If I were the captain, I wouldn't leave Kuro to fend for himself. Time flew by, and 3 weeks later, Lee Han was once again standing in Wei Chen's office. He spoke with a serious tone. Lee Han, regarding the application you submitted. Wei Chen looked directly into Lee Han's eyes. Your proposal to form a new team has been approved. Lee Han's face had been tense as he awaited the verdict. Upon hearing the approval, he pressed his lips together, finding it hard to believe. It was actually approved. Wei Chen handed Lee Han a piece of paper explaining briefly, because your leadership evaluation at level 1 was outstanding, all the instructors agreed to give you a chance. I suppose they want to test both your reputation and your resourcefulness. Lee Han took the paper. He read the conditions for forming a team carefully. 1. A team must have more than 4 members, including the captain. 2. You have the right to recruit members from an existing team unless they refuse. He calculated silently in his head. If I follow these conditions, the other captains will hate my guts. They've already made preparations to avoid losing their core members. Lee Han didn't seem to mind that at all. He clenched his fist. So, you're saying I should just do what needs to be done? Seeing this, Wei Chen grinned and complimented him. You're as sharp as ever, Lee Han. I'm expecting great things from you. Leaving Wei Chen's office, Lee Han was inwardly thrilled. My own team. His thoughts immediately went to Rose and Kuro. The first members that come to mind are... But his mood soured the very next second, so much so that a passerby turned to look. But Rose isn't here. All right, I'll start by talking to Kuro then. Suddenly, Lee Han seemed to remember something. He stood up straight, a hopeful look on his face. There's one more person. A moment later, Lee Han was standing in front of a break room, knocking on the door, which was quickly pushed open. Dimichi looked quite surprised to see him. Oh, what's up? Damn it! Kato cursed, feeling utterly helpless. He was furious. Our rank keeps dropping because of Kuro, one of his team members lamented. We should have tried harder to get Simon on our team. Kato had to nod, acknowledging his rival's strength. Yeah, Simon's the real deal. Both his fighting skills and his psychic abilities are top-notch. He can take on 2 or 3 people at once. Kuro can't do a single thing on his own. His stats are a complete joke. However, Lee Han had been listening from a corner and heard their entire conversation. I just don't have anyone to replace him, so I have no choice but to keep him on the team. Dimichi asked curiously. So you're planning on forming a new team? Are you planning to recruit anyone else besides me? Lee Han didn't hide it. Kuro, I started this whole thing with the conviction that Kuro would be on my team. But Dimichi looked worried after hearing that. No team captain is just going to let you poach their members. It's not that easy, he pointed out sharply. But Dimichi, you still haven't given me an answer. Dimichi scratched his head, looking a little conflicted. Look, I really appreciate the offer, but my answer is no, Lee Han. I'm the next captain of Team 5. I can't just abandon my guys now. Lee Han was stunned for a few seconds after hearing that, but he understood and didn't press the issue. I get it. Demichi looked at his friend guiltily. After a moment of hesitation, he added, I'd rather be your rival than your teammate. It's more fun that way. Demichi gave Lee Han an awkward smile. Far from being upset, Lee Han actually looked intrigued. Lee Han stepped closer and warned, Just don't come crying to me when we're opponents and I beat you to a pulp. Demichi, full of resolve, shot back, Next time I'll be the one breaking both your arms. As Lee Han was walking down the hall, he could already hear the whispers. Look, it's Lee Han. He really wants to be a captain that badly. Well, what an arrogant jerk. But he couldn't care less. Say whatever you want, he thought. When the news that I was forming a new team was announced during the final Level 2 round, all the team captains started staring at me just as I expected. Kato in particular was so furious, his face was contorted with rage. Lee Han, is this how you stab me in the back? I don't care if you leave my team or start a new one, but I will not let you have Kuro. His team members were just as fired up. But Kuro's reaction was completely different. Lee Han declared loudly, Kuro will never reach his full potential under your leadership. But Kato remained completely confident. Don't pretend you know what's best. Kuro will continue to improve and become a core member of Team 7. Are you going to ask your opponent to wait just because you're not ready? Wait. I'm sure I can bring out his full potential immediately. A commander has to win even with limited manpower. No matter who you blame, it won't change the outcome. Provoked, Kato grabs Lee Han by the collar. You bastard! No matter what you say, I'm not giving Kuro to you, Lee Han replies without a hint of fear. That's not your decision to make. It's Kuro's. Kato immediately turns and yells at Kuro. If you leave, I'll kill you. Suddenly threatened Kuro turns pale with fear. Lee Han grabs Kato's collar back, mocking him. You really think you can do that? You're all talk. You talk so much that if you fell into water, your mouth would be the only thing that floats. Shamed into anger, he throws a painful punch at him. Lee Han, however, has no intention of stopping. Kato knows he went too far and can't help but worry. Damn it. Lee Han, undaunted, wipes the streak of blood from his face. I'll let that slide, Kato. Something like this isn't worth slowing me down. Then he bluntly turns and walks away. As he passes Kuro, Lee Han adds, I'll be waiting for you, Kuro. However, everyone else starts murmuring. What an idiot. Who would leave their team to follow a captain who hasn't even proven himself? Who knows how they'll treat him if the team ends up failing? Only Kuro is trembling uncontrollably, trying to suppress his emotions. Meanwhile, Lee Han thinks to himself, I've already asked everyone I could think of. What do I do next if things keep going like this? Lost in thought. Lee Han accidentally bumps into someone. Sorry, I was thinking. He watches the person's hurried figure and can't help but marvel. He's so fast. Wait a minute, is he even allowed to dress like that? Suddenly his watch chimes. Lee Han immediately checks it. All captains assemble in front of Building 2. Before long, everyone has gathered. Sasa formally makes an introduction. These 6 are newly promoted. They are waiting to be assigned to a team. We've decided to let the new captains choose first. Lee Han steps forward, making a resolution to himself. This is my chance. I have to recruit at least one person right now. Lee Han introduces himself. My name is Lee Han, captain of Team 13. My team is currently short on members. Everyone is welcome. Hearing this, Kato sneers, Short. You mean you don't have any right? But very quickly someone raises their hand. I volunteer. Lee Han's face lights up with joy. That person is none other than Rose. That evening at the dorm. That was lucky? Rose says with a hint of regret. It would be even better if we had one more member. Hearing this, Lee Han feels a bit awkward. Well, we are a new team. Thanks for believing in me and joining. Rose, I've always wanted to be on the same team as you. Rose replies confidently. Those guys who didn't join are fools. If they knew what you're capable of, they'd be lining up at the door. Anyway, let's try to recruit more people starting tomorrow. I'm heading back to my room. Suddenly, a knock on the door gets their attention. Lee Han opens it and is shocked. Kuro, he asks with concern, seeing the other's face. Your face is all battered and bruised. What happened? It turns out Kuro had an argument with Kato. I told Kato that I was leaving Team 7 and that bastard, he couldn't even kill me. Hearing this, Lee Han beams. Awesome. Are you sure you're the same Kuro I know? He replies cheerfully. It was nothing. Rose, now even more excited, chimes in. We're on the same team, just like on the desert island. No matter who the opponent is, I'm sure we won't lose. Just then someone else walks up. Sounds fun. Can I join? Everyone's talking about you like you're the scum of the earth. So Team 13 seems like it'll be the most fun. Rose walks over, pats Lee Han on the shoulder, and asks, Lee Han, you know him, right? He used to be in Class B. He nods in immediate confirmation. Of course. You're just the person our team needs, Newt Mayer. Newt is so excited he can barely contain himself. Please take care of me. So Team 13 is an official team now, right? Lee Han nods. Yeah, but we're a thorn in the side of the other teams. If we're not careful, we could be disbanded. You all know what would happen to us in that situation, don't you? Kuro and Newt both answer in unison, I'm ready for it. Me too. Right now he feels an invisible pressure, a heavy burden on his shoulders. But he has a feeling he can do this. Lee Han quickly sets a time with everyone. All right, Team 13 assemble tomorrow. The next morning, their trainer arrives. It's a pleasure to meet you, Team 13. He introduces himself. I am second-class head trainer Rossman, Captain Lee Han, members Rose and Newt Mayer. But when it comes to Kuro, Rossman is full of doubt. And, Kuro, is it? What happened to your face? To avoid getting in trouble, Kuro has to lie. I slipped on the stairs, sir. Hearing this, Rossman falls silent, not knowing what to say. Finally, he just sighs and warns him, be careful. While Rossman continues to negotiate with them, you all will have a grace period from the competition starting today. This period will last for about 3 weeks. After this period ends, you'll have to participate in the competitions, so get ready. The event type and your opponents will be randomly decided by the head coach, and you will find out then. Lee Han smirked, a little stunned. Is Rossman telling us not to slack off? Event type gunfight. Opponent Team 9. Team 9 has the most wins and the highest score in gunfights. Nut took off his helmet, sighing endlessly. This is suffocating. I don't like this at all. As long as we don't get shot, we'll be fine, right? Lee Han angrily walked up and smacked him on the head. Are you trying to get yourself killed? He warned repeatedly. Don't take it off. You're not allowed to do that no matter what. Nut stammered, okay. Lee Han set a goal for himself. I won't let anyone on my team die. He quickly announced the strategy. This is called Mobile Bunker. I just came up with the name, so don't laugh. The other three were stunned. Mobile Bunker. Sometime later, the two teams were assembled. Team 9 versus Team 13. Gunfight. On Team 9's side, they were all fired up. Let's finish this quickly. Lee Han's side was not to be outdone. We're definitely going to win. The signal to start appeared. Outside, everyone was roaring. This is a must-see. Don't go easy on them. Team 9 destroy those traitors. Watching the scene, Demichi couldn't help but remark, wow, they're really popular. Simon was also in a corner watching quietly. You can't win a gunfight. What are you going to do? In the match, Team 9 advanced aggressively, their footsteps light. No sign of them. I bet they're trying to hide near their starting point. Yeah, that's probably all they can do. They arrived at the location very quickly. There they are. Nut, currently hiding behind a tree trunk, was extremely tense. Damn, they're faster than I thought. Very quickly, his watch announced, opponent within 200 meters. I'm on my way to join you. The distance between the two sides was closing in fast. Lee Han couldn't help but worry. Damn it, they're coming. Rose was panting heavily at this point. They aren't giving us any time to rest, these Team 9 guys. Luckily, we finished our preparations, but I need time to recover my strength. Lee Han was still very confident. Glute probably knows our situation by now. Instead of trying to advance on us, he'll... Just as he finished speaking, a jolt of electricity shot out. Nut, on the other side, was hit in the leg. He cried out in pain endlessly. A member of Team 9 quickly spotted him. Over there. Nut could only tremble from the immense pain. It hurt so much, damn it. He glanced at the group running toward him. Then came a volley of gunfire. No, his goal was to hit at least one of them. The Team 9 members hid behind trees and couldn't help but mock him. Who do you think you're going to hit shooting like that? A moment later, an exhausted Nut collapsed to the ground. It seemed in that moment that he noticed something. A spray of bullets flew towards Nut, and he quickly dodged behind a tree trunk. According to the plan, I have to regroup with the team, but with this leg, I'll just drag them down. So it's best if I buy some more time. Meanwhile, Team 9 started to feel that something was off. Why is there only one of them? There are only 4 of them anyway. What's the point of scouting? Let's just end this with a direct fight. I'm rushing in, cover me. On Li Han's side, he saw that the time was right and started to make his move. We should get started too. Thanks to Nut, we have enough time now. I'm sure Nut is injured, but he must have decided to buy time instead of regrouping with us. Rose praised him endlessly. Thanks to him, we've fully recovered. A moment ago, I really didn't have any strength left to fight. Kuro next to Li Han said sheepishly, well, that's because we used force fields and fire to cut down the trees. It turns out they weren't idle before. They were carrying out their own plan. Li Han led his teammates with confidence. Now it's time to use these. Outside, the crowd was in an uproar. Team 13 is on the move. What the hell are they doing? Are they cutting down that tree? Are they making a shield? Both Demichi and Simon had the same thought. This kind of strategy was only possible thanks to Kuro. Without planning it, they both looked at each other. Meanwhile, on Knut's side, the fight was still raging. Just when it mattered most, his gun ran out of ammo. That only made him panic more. Damn it, reload! Knut now has a member of Team 9 pointing a gun at him. You're really all alone, huh? I thought it was a trap, but it's just a stupid strategy. Outside, Demichi was also watching intently. A member of Team 13 is down. They're holding out for a long time. Now all that's left is that wooden shield. Can they really win with that thing? Simon didn't think so. This strategy has a weak point. I'm sure Li Han realizes it. Right now in the match, Team 9 is completely bewildered, firing non-stop. What is that thing? They're getting closer and closer, but we can't stop them. They must have realized our weakness. Because we chose our 4 members based on shooting ability, none of us have strong enough psychic power to make that thing explode. He knew that. Team 13 has now completely overwhelmed their opponents. Damn it, hide behind this tree. We have to stall for as long as possible. I'm sure their psychic member will get tired eventually. Li Han had already predicted that. Yeah, I'm fully aware of that weakness. But this wooden shield was just to let us get close enough for Joe to use his combustion ability. The entire nearby area soon caught fire. They watched the thick smoke billowing in a panic. A sudden fire. So much smoke. Outside, everyone was buzzing. Is that a combustion ability? Team 9 is completely covered in smoke. Is this even allowed in the match? Joe then reported, There's enough smoke, Li Han. Those bastards can't see a thing in front of them anymore. Li Han was very satisfied. Good. I'll leave the runners to you. The members of Team 9 were coughing uncontrollably when suddenly Li Han attacked. The remaining members were still in a daze. They took out 2 of us. Stay calm. Those guys can't see us either. However, no sooner had they said that than they were hit by bullets. Even now they were still stunned. What? Both Li Han and Kuro spoke in unison. We have eyes that see everything. Li Han didn't stop continuing his assault. Before long, the announcement rang out. All members of Team 9 have lost the ability to fight. Team 13 wins. Everyone cheered happily. How did they do that? Kuro threw stones to show where they were standing. And that Li Han guy, his shooting is incredible. Demichi couldn't help but get excited. They did it! Simon couldn't believe his eyes. Li Han! Kuro! Those bastards! Joe and Kuro gave Li Han a thumbs up. Li Han gestured back at them. From a distant corner, Rossman had observed everything. He seemed to be lost in thought. Li Han. After winning the match, all of Team 13 celebrated together. Cheers. Because this is a special meal reserved only for the winning team. You really deserve this for all the hard work we put in. Pretty cool, huh? You even got shot. Anyone who hasn't been shot isn't allowed to join, you know. Right now, the person who helped us win is Joe. He joyfully introduced our Captain Li Han. Please tell us how you're feeling right now. Li Han, suddenly put on the spot, was a bit flustered. After calming down, he spoke up. Thank you, everyone. It seems like the strategies during the match were a little overly stressful, but I think it was thanks to everyone's hard work that we were able to win. Everyone on the team was listening intently. Kuro's face was filled with anticipation, and Joe was no exception. Kuro kept cheering him on. It wasn't that stressful. Those strategies were awesome. Li Han also gave an overview of the battle situation. We were lucky because our opponents were very strong. But they were also very predictable because most of the members of Squadron 9 are highly skilled in shooting. Knut gave a thumbs up. Amazing. The ability to predict the opponent's composition. Just as I expected, my ability to judge others isn't wrong at all. But a sudden pang of pain made him tremble. Joe asked with concern, Do you need to rest? Even though his forehead was covered in sweat, Nut acted like he was fine. This is nothing, even if I were on the verge of death. I wouldn't miss a party like this. Meanwhile, in a certain room with the lights still on, Rossman was deep in thought. He found it incredibly hard to understand. He'd paired them against Squad 9, never expecting they could actually win. But I wanted them to lose at all costs. I have to put pressure on them before they start thinking they're special. Which team would be suitable? Squad 7? If it's Squad 7, they'll use all of their energy, trying to crush Squad 13. But what if Squad 7 loses too? In that case, I just need to find a way to make it impossible for them to lose. Meanwhile, in his room, Lee Han couldn't fall asleep. I can't sleep. There were times in the past when I couldn't sleep either. It was because I was worrying about the day's events. I have some amazing teammates, so I should stop worrying. No matter who my opponent is, I'll take them down one by one. And now another match begins, Squad 1 versus Squad 13. An amazing battle. A member of Squad 1 asked, "Everyone still remembers our strategy, right? We need to be careful. When it comes to mental power, Kuro and Jose are top class among the second years. The two of us have to hold them back. Their mental power is strong, but you just need to make them lose their cool so they can't focus anymore. Got it. As for the others, I don't know what their combat abilities are like, but they won't be a problem because we have the strongest member who's also our captain, Ak." Observing the situation, Demichi couldn't help but sigh. Just how much does the coach hate them? I can't believe they can beat Squad 1 after that firefight with Squad 9. If they want to win, the only way is to take down that captain, the one wearing the headband. But he's a monster. It's tough to suppress him even with 2 or 3 strong people charging straight at him. With him leading the charge, they'll easily take down the long-range support and sweep through all the remaining opponents. Squad 1's specialty, the tank, rushes forward. Demichi was eagerly waiting to see what strategy Lee Han would ultimately use to deal with this incredibly difficult situation. Simon next to him was a bit annoyed. "Can you just watch and shut your mouth? And why are you standing so far away from me?" Just then, a member of Squad 1 froze. "Why, is that Kuro?" the Captain Ak asked. "What should we do? We can't see Lee Han either." Realizing this, Lee Han advised, "Don't be so tense, Kuro." Kuro was now frozen, just mumbling mechanically. Nude spoke confidently. "Don't worry, we'll protect you no matter what happens." Joe also cheered him on relentlessly. "Both of us will." A member of Squad 1's face darkened. "Just keep going like this. No matter where that guy is hiding, he won't be able to find a weak spot in our formation. Move forward!" Lee Han was still observing the battle silently. Turns out he was standing on a tree branch. "Winning! It means we have to wipe out the enemy. We just need to take down their designated captain." Squad 1 was now charging forward with fierce determination, but Squad 13 was not to be outdone. A member of Squad 1 saw Joe launch an attack and was bewildered. "No way!" Joe's eyes flashed. He was agile enough to dodge the opponent's attack. Meanwhile, Nude was facing his opponent head-on. High above, Lee Han silently observed the state of the battle. He immediately winked, giving a signal. "Good, almost there. Are you ready, Kuro?" Kuro nodded confidently. "There's nothing to worry about. We've practiced more than enough." After receiving the signal, Lee Han leaped down. At that moment, the Captain Ak also appeared. His presence was so overwhelming that even Nude and Joe felt a little intimidated when facing him. Captain Ak alone was able to easily lift both of them up. A member of Squad 1 saw this and was very pleased. "Great, we have this under control." Just as they were gloating, Lee Han swooped down at high speed. "Kuro is ours." He was now very close to them. 2 members of Squad 1 took the opportunity to attack Kuro together. "Victory is ours." But Kuro's gaze remained steady, looking upward. A member of Squad 1 started to feel suspicious. "This guy, where is he looking?" But before they could figure it out, a powerful surge of energy appeared behind them. Both of them immediately turned around to see what was happening. The entire area was enveloped by a thick cloud of white dust. The Squad 1 member was stunned. What the hell? At that moment, Captain Ak had been taken down. Nude finally had a chance to breathe a sigh of relief. Jose's forehead was also covered in sweat. It turned out to be Lee Han who had appeared. He declared with utmost confidence, "I think we've won." At that moment, everyone watching from the outside was dumbfounded. The battle was over. Squad 13 is victorious. What did he just jump down from that tree? That tree is as tall as 5 buildings stacked together. I don't care if he's risking his life or not. But this is a bit much, isn't it? He's really lost his mind. But damn, he's so cool. Damn it. Everyone is screaming with joy. Demichi looks at the crowd and scoffs. The same people who were cursing him out not too long ago. I see now. It's because he always shows them these kinds of incredible, unexpected skills. Everyone can't stop praising that team captain. That was amazing. Who is he? He's Lee Han from Team 7. Why doesn't he participate in matches like this more often? What is the captain of Team 7 even doing? How could they not keep a guy like this in the spotlight? Hearing these words, Kato gets even angrier. It looks like he's not the one getting any praise from the crowd. Time flashes back to one day before the tournament with Team 1 began. Lee Han was training his aerial moves diligently, while Kuro was focusing on his own skills. Lee Han then noticed his teammate. He walked over and couldn't help but praise Kuro. If you keep this up, the real battle will be a piece of cake.
As expected, you're amazing, Kuro. I think you're better than me. Are you scared, Lee Han?
That's right. If we lose, you'd better watch that nose of yours. Tomorrow decides the survival of our team. It's really hard to control people with telekinesis, but if it were easy, then all telekinetic users would be able to fly. Kuro nodded. Finally, Lee Han briefly explained his plan again. Tomorrow, I'll jump from a high place to ambush them. When I do, you control the speed of my fall. Just make it so neither I nor they end up dead. In his heart, he told himself, I believe in you, Kuro. However, things didn't go smoothly. Kuro clasped his hands apologetically. I'm sorry. It's my fault your arm is broken. Lee Han quickly reassured his teammate. It's okay, Kuro. At least no one died, right? Besides, that was a difficult thing to do. You did a great job. That apology was more than he could have ever imagined. Newt, who was next to them eating a piece of chicken, said, Don't blame yourself too much, Kuro. If we hadn't done that, do you think we could have taken down that monster? Joe cheerfully added, Anyway, there aren't any matches scheduled until Lee Han's arm heals right. Suddenly, their watches lit up. The atmosphere in the team instantly turned icy. What? What is this? It was a match schedule notification. 2 days from now, Aerial Combat Team 7 versus Team 13. Just then, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed in the hallway. The person seemed very anxious, as if they were heading for a specific room. Rossman seemed to have heard the noise as well. When he saw the door open, he wasn't surprised at all. Well, I didn't think you'd come. Kadosuke. Kato was panting, having run in a hurry. The next morning on the field, the arguments of Team 13 echoed. Don't you think there's anything wrong with this? Our team has an injured member and they schedule a match right away. It's like they're telling us to just lose. On top of that, our opponent is Team 7. They'll kick our asses since they're on a hot streak right now. Rose couldn't help but get angry. This is so unfair. We should protest this. What the hell is this? Rossman now spoke up. It's perfectly obvious that you all will defeat Team 7. Or do you lack the confidence to win? Kato lowered his head and replied, Even if no one on Team 13 were injured, we would still beat them any time. He looked him straight in the eye and asked, So you will win, won't you? After leaving the room, Team 13's Captain Suki couldn't help but think angrily, Damn it, he didn't listen to a word I said. He sighed. Kato silently returned. Outside on the field, Lee Han voiced his opinion. There's no point in us complaining about this. The only thing we can do is win. To be honest, I haven't figured out a way to win yet. But I'm sure I'll find one before the match starts. Just then Kato suddenly approached. Interesting. I hope you're not just all talk, Lee Han, but are you okay with that arm? Lee Han confidently asserted, It's a disadvantage for me, but against your team I only need my right hand. Enraged, Kato walked up and warned him. No! A battle isn't something you can win easily with last-minute preparations. If you're too nice, you'll find it hard to win. You know that, and yet you answer back without any fear. I'll prepare a special strategy just for you. If you're not serious, we will make you suffer. But shh! He was so embarrassed he got furious, pointing straight at me and yelling, I'll kill you, Han! You and Kuro, too! Lee Han just growled as if warning Kato. He was so angry his face looked like it was about to twist out of shape. Lee Han reminded him coldly, If you've never killed someone before, then don't you dare threaten us like that. And with that, Kato left in a rage. Okay then, just you watch, Jose yelled at his retreating back. What a bastard. Lee Han was also on guard. He's no pushover. Now let's head to the training room. Just like that, the group moved to the training room. Lee Han tried to deploy his power, but in the end he still couldn't do it. Lee Han wiped the sweat from his brow, a sense of worry creeping in. This is trouble. Even when I'm in my best condition, I can only control 2 flying sigils. And now I can only manage 1. Suddenly, he turned his head as if realizing something. Jose is using his firepower. It seems he's also having a hard time controlling 2 flying sigils with ease. We can only rely on Kuro. But I don't want Kuro to have to carry the team like this. Even though Team 7 doesn't have a strong support, they're still a well-balanced team. Their morale is high and their strategy is pretty solid. With Kato leading them, Team 7 is a strong team. There's no way we can beat them. Joe walked over and called out to Lee Han, "We've got a problem." A few seconds later, he had deployed his skill. Jose offered his opinion. "In an aerial battle, there's nothing to burn. I don't think my firepower will be very strong then. Besides, with each of us flying all over the place, I don't think I'll be able to hit my targets easily." Meanwhile, in a corner somewhere, Lee Han was also watching silently. "Are they having trouble with those skills?" A member of Squad 7 sounded smug. "I don't think we need to worry about a thing, Kato." Kato nodded in satisfaction as well. "Of course. It's our winning strategy. There's no reason for us to lose. Victory is 100% ours right now." Everyone watching on the monitors couldn't help but be surprised. Why is Squad 13 still competing? Isn't Lee Han injured? They don't even have any air combat experience. Squad 7 versus Squad 13, match day. Demichi stroked his chin deep in thought. It's almost like they were set up to lose. That teacher is such a bad person. Instructor Rossman. Simon was also quiet, lost in thought. This time, the two of them were standing near each other again. Simon turned around annoyed. "What are you doing?" Demichi avoided his gaze, not daring to look. "Well, you told me to stand next to you." He was losing his patience. "You're getting on my nerves." Rossman tries to adjust every team's win rate to around 50%. The matches and the conflicts between the squads are decided based on his analyses. Even for him, it'll be difficult to win this one. Lee Han. By now, all of Squad 7 had assembled. Squad 13 had done the same. Kato was now brimming with a destructive aura. "Come on, let's annihilate them. Show them what we're made of." Just then, Lee Han checked in. "How you doing?" "Joe," he answered confidently. "Feeling great. I'm going to burn everything to the ground, so don't you worry." Lee Han nodded, full of confidence. "I'm counting on you to shine because you're the core of this strategy." And with that, the announcement rang out. "Begin each squad, launch your flying boards." In an instant, a fleet of flying discs appeared. Everyone watching on the monitors was horrified. "What's with the number of discs from Squad 13? Are they insane?" Kato couldn't help but tremble. 16. He couldn't believe his eyes. No way. Normally, the number of flying discs a second year can control is about 4 for each support member, and 2 for the others. There are 2 people who couldn't even control 2 discs. That was 2 days ago, but now they have 16. Even if each of them controlled 2 discs, that still leaves 10 extras. There's no way Kuro can control 10 of them. A teammate beside him prompted him. "Kato, give us the order." "Hurry." Over on his side, Lee Han had already sensed their confusion. "Looks like you're flustered, aren't you, Kato? I'll show you soon enough." The number of discs Squad 13 deployed stunned everyone. 16. Just then, Squad 7 started to panic. "Wait a minute. Is that even possible?" Kato quickly snapped at his teammates. "There's no need to freak out. Just stick to the plan. We'll take them down one by one." Meanwhile, on Squad 13's side, Newt and Joe had both stepped onto their flying discs. Lee Han began to use his ability as well. We didn't take a single break while training our psychokinesis, even though my own psychic power is about average, but I've learned how to focus that power where I want it. If I use it right, I can not only control objects, but I can also make them fly faster. Lee Han used all his strength to control the flying discs. One disc shot perfectly toward Squad 7. Kato couldn't help but be on guard. "You're insane. Are you planning on using all those boards as projectiles? It may be fast, but unless it's coming straight for me, I can easily dodge it." However, back when they were training, Joe had brought something up. Since there are no flammable materials in aerial combat, I didn't think my combustion ability would be useful. And this was the moment to prove that wrong. "Joe, when we're fighting in the air, I thought of something we can burn." Just then, a massive flame erupted right where Squad 7 was. "Is that—" That was followed by a deafening explosion. Both Demichi and Simon were stunned. Everyone was in an uproar. What the hell was that? Did they just blow up a flying board? How much does one of those things cost? That's more than an instructor's monthly salary. They all roared in unison. "Who cares? Let's blow them all up." Lee Han continued to repeat the motion. Joe readied his ability as well. And just like that, Li Han threw the flying board forward with all his might. Joe timed it perfectly, igniting it. Another explosion erupted. The members of Squad 7 who couldn't dodge in time were sent flying. Kato roared in anger. Damn it! Stop them. They're blowing up all of their boards. A team member hesitated. But if we get any closer, we'll get caught in the blast. Just then a figure came running frantically from the sidelines. Rossman was in a panic, shouting, "Stop it right now!" Kato, who seemed to have lost his mind, just kept screaming amidst the explosions. Li Han... Rossman's face darkened. The atmosphere suddenly turned ice cold. Li Han couldn't help but feel tense. He called me up here, just to stare at me for 10 minutes straight. Dealing with Sergeant Red is way easier. By now he would have already let loose a whole tirade of curses at me. Rossman put a hand to his forehead, looking troubled. This is very awkward to bring up. But Li Han didn't dare react, listening in silence. Rossman got straight to the point. Do you have any idea how much a single one of those flying boards costs? Li Han didn't hesitate to admit it. I know they're very expensive, Rossman added. If you weren't a member of the Corps, you couldn't pay that debt off in your entire lifetime. This is totally unfair, sir. Didn't you call me here to talk about my strategy? Rossman was at a loss for words. He held his head in frustration. Basically, it doesn't break any rules, but can't you see how controversial this is going to be? Some coaches might praise you for coming up with a creative strategy to get around the rules, but I'm not one of them. The next time you plan on doing something like this, make sure you let me know beforehand. Li Han obediently complied. Understood. Sir, can I ask you one more thing? Rossman replied quickly. Go ahead. Li Han spoke with determination. If we were fighting dragons, this strategy wouldn't be controversial and you wouldn't be asking me how much the hoverboard costs. We have to win no matter what it takes. Isn't that the purpose of this training? Hearing this, Rossman wasn't angry at all. Instead, he burst out laughing. Ha ha, you've got me figured out! You talk just like someone I know. That's a good attitude, Li Han. I'm looking forward to your future matches. You may go now. Just as Captain Li Han stepped out the door, he ran into Kato, who looked furious. Flashing back to the match, a fired-up Kato charged at Li Han. The hoverboard shot out from Li Han's side, but Kato charged forward without a moment's hesitation. And just like that, another explosion erupted. Li Han saw his opponent approaching, but he wasn't afraid in the slightest. Kato was shocked when he suddenly grabbed him by the waist. This bastard! He wants to fall with me, he said with a scornful voice. Even if you win with that cowardly strategy, no one will praise you for it. But Li Han's attitude was completely indifferent. That's for others to decide. Did you just wait here to say that to me? Suddenly exposed Kato was a bit embarrassed. I was just passing by. Who would want to wait for a bastard like you? He then declared, I will definitely crush you by then. So don't you dare lose to anyone else. Li Han simply walked away quietly. All right. Soon he returned to the room where everyone was waiting. Welcome back, Captain. Li Han raised a hand in greeting. Kuro cheerfully announced, They've declared us the winners. Joe finally let out a sigh of relief. I was worried it was against the rules. Newt added with a sigh, It wasn't, but it must have been a close call. Joe suddenly looked at his watch. Kuro asked worriedly, What's wrong, Joe? He then voiced his concern. Doesn't it always happen when we're celebrating? This thing, right on cue, of course. However, when everyone received the notification, their faces turned pale. Match schedule. In 7 days, capture the flag Squad 5 versus Squad 13 following a direct declaration of war. They're pitting us against the strongest team in that event. That's Rossman for you. It's just one thing after another. Demichi was still training hard on the field. So refreshing. It's so hot I need to take a shower right now. Just then someone approached. It was the former captain of Squad 5. Demichi suddenly called out to him. Wait, Captain. I mean former captain, since I'm the captain now. Are you ignoring me just because you're a third year now? Squad 5 is doing great, you know, because I'm the captain now. But at that moment, Demichi realized the other person seemed furious. The former captain of Squad 5 was radiating killing intent. Get lost, before I kill you. Demichi was utterly confused. What's wrong with you? What happened? No, tell me the details after we fight. Li Han was now fighting fiercely, but it seemed to be a struggle this time. He panted heavily, thinking to himself, What the hell is wrong with this guy? He's too strong. That person was none other than Jinglang. One moment she was standing in front of Li Han, the next she vanished with a whoosh gone without a trace. Jinglang lunged forward and struck Li Han with her sword. He cried out in pain and soon collapsed to the ground. Flashback to 6 days ago. Lee Han looked at Rossman in disbelief. What is that true? He nodded hesitantly. It's true. I can't give you the details right now. It turned out Dmitri had been seriously injured by the former captain of Squad 5. Rossman had to announce, but Dmitri was suddenly injured and cannot participate in the upcoming match. The match will proceed as scheduled. A thought immediately crossed Lee Han's mind. Without Dmitri, Squad 5 will be like a headless chicken. This is a guaranteed win. Just then Rossman handed him a form. This is the real reason I called you in. Lee Han took it, confused. What is this? Rossman then explained. It's a transfer request. To your squad. You're known for being able to utilize your team members. It seems Kato from Squad 7 has been criticized. Lee Han didn't seem too surprised. I knew this would happen. I'm sure most of the second years want to transfer. If they join my team, they'll get to fight right away. Rossman advised, think it over. You don't have to decide right now. However, Lee Han didn't listen at all. No need, I'll take them all. We can't afford to be choosers. And just like that, a few more members joined the team. Welcome to Team 13, Domingo, Kasim, Andy, and Zhong Zisu. We'll start preparing for tomorrow's match. Meanwhile, I will observe your special abilities and assign roles. Any objections? Suddenly, at that moment, someone called out, Team Captain Lee Han. As soon as Lee Han heard it, he immediately thought it was a Korean. He quickly asked the other person, What do you want to say, Dong Jiro? Jiro spoke hesitantly. No, I just wanted to ask you to look after me since I'm a fellow Korean. Lee Han solemnly announced, In ARC, nationality doesn't matter. If you want to be looked after, prove yourself first. He said embarrassedly, Got it. Make sure you treat me well. Lee Han coldly turned and walked away. Let's dismiss for today. Jiro couldn't help but feel a little resentful. This bastard is so damn rigid. Saibo? Andy asked curiously. What does Sibo mean? Kasim quickly answered, I know it's a curse word in Korean. I heard it while watching Korean dramas. Time quickly passed. 1 hour before Team 5 versus Team 13 in Capture the Flag. Everyone was buzzing with confusion. What's going on? Why are they closing the dome? Are they trying to create a nighttime environment? Rose looked at the situation before her and couldn't help but get angry. They want to make us lose at any cost. How cheap. Lee Han calmly advised, Don't get too worked up. The opponent is in the same environment as us. Let your eyes adjust to the darkness. She obediently followed his advice. Okay. By now, the small teams had been clearly divided. Lee Han assigned roles once more. Newt's team will lead, and Joe's team will provide support. I will attack from the flank. Team 5 without Dimichi will be the weakest opponent we've ever faced, but don't let your guard down. Do your best to win. Very quickly, it was 10 minutes before the match. Lee Han was still directing the team smoothly. Lead team go in. All right, support team move in. We're going in too. The match progressed. 5 minutes before the end, everything was still going very smoothly. Good, we're almost there. Lee Han asked to confirm the situation. Is Team 5 completely eliminated yet? Newt observed for a moment, then reported, Not yet, over by the flag. He pointed to the other side to show them. Indeed, there was still one person there. It was none other than Silence. Jiro was stunned. He's the only one who survived. He just stood there and watched while his teammates were beaten. However, Silence simply walked over and took out 4 members of Team 13 in one go. Lee Han couldn't believe the scene before him. What the Kuro pushed him and warned, watch out, just like that he was sent flying. Lee Han could only stand there and watch his teammates get taken down. At that moment, he realized the opponent's skill. A damn teleportation ability. I don't even have time to be surprised. Lee Han immediately raised his sword, readying himself. Jiro beside him couldn't help but get angry. We can't even get close to him. He rashly charged in to fight. Jiro, now very confident, swung his sword. However, Silence just lightly leaped up high to dodge. Jiro missed, making him even angrier. Shit! But while he was distracted, he was taken down by a kick from Silence. Soon, Jiro was lying still on the ground. The people outside couldn't help but buzz. Is Team 13 completely wiped out? But who's that kid with the bone mask? That bastard. Isn't that the rumored Silence? Silence. Is it really Silence? Simon was also very confused. Silence. If it's that Silence, then. During training, his central nervous system was damaged and he lost the ability to speak. But after that accident, his combat ability developed at an abnormally fast rate and he became an experimental subject. That grade 3 guy, a grade 3, is that strong. Letting a grade 3 participate in a grade 2 match isn't that against the rules. At this moment, Lee Han was trembling uncontrollably. Hearing the sound, Silence quickly turned around. He was trying his best to get up. Lee Han didn't hesitate to face him directly. "I don't know who you are, but I have no intention of losing, Mr. Bone Mask." The hand Lee Han was holding his sword with also began to emit energy. His two eyes turned ocean blue. Lee Han's condition was gradually recovering. Silence isn't worried in the slightest. She's ready to take them on. The two of them were prepared for battle. Simon, watching the scene on the monitor, couldn't help but get angry. So that bastard was just keeping quiet all this time. She's on a completely different level from the other level 2s. Given the current situation, there's no way to win. So what are you going to do? Lee Han couldn't help but worry. If I can't block her next attack, it's all over. But I'm not going down that easily. Okay, let's analyze what just happened. She can move about 15 meters in an instant. Considering the energy it must cost for such a big move, it's plausible she could move like that, twice in a row. The objective is to capture the flag, not to defeat that bastard. If I can just stall her for a moment, I can win. And this is my chance to stop her. At that moment, silence began to advance while Lee Han was silently calculating his strategy. That's it. When she uses her ability, the space around her starts to blur. The space in front of Lee Han suddenly went empty. He counted silently in his head. 1, 2. On the final beat, Lee Han dropped easily, dodging. 3. Silence was caught by surprise. Lee Han seized the opportunity and immediately launched a counterattack. By the time she realized what was happening, it was too late. Just like that, Silence took the full force of Lee Han's punch. But even he hadn't expected his opponent to be able to dodge. Lee Han was utterly stunned. In the blink of an eye, Silence had turned defeat into victory. She pinned Lee Han under her foot, preparing to stab him with her sword. Silence was a little confused. At this moment, Lee Han had clearly been defeated. But he was wearing a cryptic smile. Turns out a sword had appeared above Silence's head without her noticing. A second later, it plunged straight toward her. Silence froze. Her mind went fuzzy, but Silence quickly recovered. However, in that moment, Lee Han had already snatched the flag. "You recovered in just 3 seconds. That's incredible. But that was all the time I needed to take the flag. This is our victory." Meanwhile, from the skull masks, while everyone else was stunned, one person was seething with rage. Unbelievable. Lee Han. He actually beat a level 3. I should have joined Team 13. Simon's face darkened as he stared at the screen, grinding his teeth in fury. Sometime later, Kuro brought a piece of food over. "Here, kitty." A small kitten obediently trotted over. Kuro gently stroked its head. "Good kitty. You're a good eater, aren't you? There used to be a cat just like you near the old orphanage. I used to have no friends. I wasn't good at anything, and I looked different. But now, I have my own talent. And I have friends now, too." Jiro, who was nearby, sneered to himself. "Geez, this freak is talking to a cat. What a pathetic loser. And your rank is obviously lower than mine." He called out loudly, "Hey, Kuro, what are you doing here?" Kuro spun around, startled.
Jiro, since when were you—"
Jiro got straight to the point. "I think we need to discuss a few things over the break." Kuro was confused. "Discuss?" Jiro made his ambition clear. "As you know, our team doesn't have a vice-captain right now, does it? I think I should nominate myself for the position. And I think it'd be best if you supported me." Seeing the kitten approach him, Jiro grew angry. "You damn stray, you'll get my clothes dirty." Without a second thought, he kicked it away. "I'm in the middle of an important discussion. Why don't you get lost?" Kuro watched in horror. Jiro nonchalantly continued, "So anyway." But Kuro was no longer in the mood to listen. "Get out of the way." The atmosphere suddenly grew tense. Kuro's entire body was enveloped in a powerful aura. Jiro stared, bewildered. "What the hell is going on?" Even the nearby trash can began to shake violently, and in moments it was crushed into a small metal ball. Jiro stared in astonishment as Kuro roared with rage.
"Don't you ever do anything like that?"
"Ever again," terrified Jiro stammered, nodding. "Okay, I get it." At that moment, Kuro's kitten bolted off. It happened to pass by Demichi's hospital room. He directly asked Lee Han, "You probably didn't come all this way just for a social visit, did you? So what brings you here?" Understanding his point, he just stared at the other man for a moment before Lee Han spoke his mind. "I can only offer a guess, because it seems like Ak is still hiding a secret.
But now that I see you, everything has become clear. The person who did this to you was a level 3, right? Demichi sighed wearily. No, it was my former team leader. Level 3 is truly a completely different league.
No, it's not just a difference in level. I couldn't even move a muscle before I was defeated. Damn it!
Lee Han watched with concern as Demichi trembled uncontrollably. This is the first time I've ever seen him this broken. Just then he seemed to remember something. Ah, that's right, that bastard. He wasn't himself at that moment. It was as if he had gone mad.
Lee Han quickly analyzed the situation. If he wasn't like that from the start, then it seems there's something going on with the activities of the level 3s.
Think about it. The equipment for level 3s at AC is severely lacking, and it's extremely rare to even encounter one. Our training is far from complete.
We're trained up to level 2, which means we're forced into real combat before we can reach level 3.
Hearing this, Demichi was bewildered.
What is that even possible? At that moment, in a corner somewhere, a person in iron armor appeared. They walked with heavy steps as a door slowly creaked open until it was completely ajar. Just then, Kuro's cat walked by. He didn't know what was going on, so he just chased after it. Found you. Are you hurt, little kitty? Let's head back. I'll give you lots of yummy food. When Kuro realized someone else was there, he jumped in surprise. The person slowly walked up and questioned him. Who are you? After hearing the person speak, Kuro felt a little suspicious.
That voice is... After the mask was removed, he couldn't help but be shocked. Kuro's voice trembled. Sir, Sergeant Red.
The man was happy to see him too. Oh, is that you, Kuro? You look so different. I almost didn't recognize you. At that moment at the Arc Development Center, John asked gently, Are you lost? You've come quite a long way. 2 cans of soda then fell to the ground. He then handed Kuro a can. A car is coming to take you back to the dorms. Drink this while you wait. He accepted it politely. Thank you, sir. Aren't you angry? John furrowed his brow confused. What about you being here? The 2nd-generation psychic armor will be announced soon anyway, so it's no big deal if you found out a little early. Because a level 2 like you can't just leave Arc whenever you want. Kuro sighed and nodded. That's right. Our reinforced bodies aren't allowed to leave this place. Not until we can no longer fight, because we're the property of Arc. John also had to confirm. That's right. And the people who suddenly fly into a rage are the ones with shitty personalities. They're psychos, don't you think? At that moment, Kuro thought in a panic, Sergeant Red doesn't seem to realize he's talking about himself. Suddenly, Charlie's voice made Kuro turn to look. How did the test go, Red? John immediately replied, Just what I'd expect from you. The psychic response rate is very high, old man, but I think you should reduce the amount of dragon material in the system. The power boost is important, but if it's this sensitive, it'll be very difficult to control. Unlike our 1st generation, these kids can summon psychic power as easily as breathing. Charlie then introduced himself. Nice to meet you. I'm the leader of Squad 1, Charlie Smith. Kuro quickly replied, Hello, my name is Kuro. John, standing beside them, added, This old man is a legend in psychic armor design. Charlie was very modest. Its 1st generation was created in a hurry, so it was still pretty crude. But the 2nd generation is a huge improvement. It's going to become the best gear out there. John beside him revealed, It was designed for you kids. I can barely control it. After hearing that, Kuro was filled with determination. I have to wear that armor and fight in real battles. Time passed, and it was soon time to part ways. See you later, Kuro. John then asked curiously, What's going to happen to the armor I tested today? Charlie next to him reported frankly, It will be disassembled and recycled for parts. Due to its rarity, we're always short on dragon materials. He couldn't help but wonder, why don't you just leave it as is? You never know what if someone else could wear it. Lee Han was now awake and training. Arc's normal schedule starts at 5 a.m., but I always wake up at 4 a.m. to draft strategies for our matches, or to log the special abilities of the members and other things. Of course, I also record my own skills objectively and grade them. My psychic power is still below average. In other words, it's not very effective. I can't even use the basic telekinesis skills Instructor Wave taught. But I did discover one ability that only I have among the kids here. Absolute precision when using psychic power. Kuro and Simon can use telekinesis to turn a pencil to dust, but they can't write with it. I can dominate all of them when it comes to controlling psychic power. I have to train harder to refine this precision. Li Han looked at his watch and confirmed. Time to head out. The sound of jogging echoed continuously in the yard. The count rang out, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Demichi was also part of it. 1, 2, 1, 2. He ran over and called out, "Hey, Li Han." He quickly asked, "Demichi, that spatial rift you saw yesterday, how was it?" Demichi smiled cheerfully and replied, "It wasn't much. It was really sparkly. Would be a great place for a date." Spatial rifts are the remnants left behind when the Dragon Legion attacked and the gates closed. Under Rossman's command, the Level 2s were split into 2 groups to go see the rifts. Rossman explained to them, "A spatial rift is a place that directly connects Earth with other worlds, and there's a theory that it influenced the emergence of psychics. Seeing a rift will be a good experience for you all. There's no danger, so don't worry. It formed over 15 years ago, but there hasn't been any activity from it since then," Li Han asked further. "I heard psychics get a strange feeling when they get close to it. Is that true?" Demichi didn't reveal too much. "You might get a little dizzy, but it's hard to explain. You're going to see it today, so just feel it for yourself." "All right, let's give it our all." Right now at the training grounds, after a long, tiring period, Li Han announced the schedule. "We'll gather at the helipad at 10 a.m. After eating and showering, you guys can enjoy your free time." Rose, though exhausted, couldn't hide her excitement. "This feels just like a field trip." Very quickly, they were all dismissed. John approached Li Han to start a conversation. "It's great to meet you, Li Han. If you're okay with it, I'd like to invite you for breakfast." He quickly recognized the other person. "You're John, the captain of Team 10. John also replied happily, "I'm honored you still remember me after we were soundly defeated. Rossman no longer openly wants us to lose, but we've still lost a few times." "Team 10 is one of the few teams that has defeated us," Li Han shared enthusiastically. "I've always wanted to learn more about your strategies, so I'd be happy to chat." Hearing this, John became extremely embarrassed. "I'm nothing compared to you." At that moment, countless helicopters were on the field. They had been waiting for a while. It had safely taken off. Now the instructor shared seriously, "Shinzu, where we are headed, is one of the 6 places where a spatial gate opened. During the first invasion, the Dragon Legion summoned in Shinzu split into 2 and advanced towards Korea and China. North Korea confronted them with nuclear bombs. But it was ineffective and turned the northern region of Korea into a dead land. The North Korean government was wiped out and the people crossed the border. The Republic of Korea accepted these refugees while fighting against the invaders, and they still haven't fully recovered from the social and economic chaos that occurred during that time." Kasim just then realized, "The Republic of Korea is your hometown, Li Han." He didn't hesitate to admit it. "That's right. Gojo and I were born there." A little while later, the aircraft arrived. "We've reached Shinzu," the system then announced, proceeding to the crevice, opening the rear door. Just then, a wave of power rushed towards them. It stunned them. Li Han also gritted his teeth, struggling to endure it. What is this pressure? A monster had its mouth wide open, waiting for them as if they could be swallowed whole at any moment. The group couldn't help but feel bewildered. A moment later, the aircraft landed safely. Kasim, feeling uneasy, spoke up. "Suddenly, I'm so tired, even though I haven't done anything." Kuro felt the same. "I feel awful." Jose beside them sighed wearily. "I want to go back, take a shower, and go to bed really early." Li Han silently observed the outside. Suddenly, he noticed something. Li Han looked at the aircraft outside and thought, "If they're Team 4, that's Team 10. Us and them are flying close to each other." Just then, John also noticed him. He immediately gave Li Han a thumbs up. He smiled back, but a second later, that aircraft was hit by some force. Li Han's jaw dropped as he watched it just explode in midair. Li Han was too stunned to react. "What was that light? Was Team 10 wiped out? I just said hello to him for the first time this morning." Suddenly a loud shout rang out, pulling him back to reality. "Li Han!" The instructor urged him relentlessly. "This is an emergency. Your team members are parachuting out. This helicopter is about to explode. I'll send the information to headquarters. Hurry up." Li Han quickly acknowledged the order. "Yes, sir." Just like that, he guided everyone to move. They parachuted out one by one to escape. The instructor checked the situation one more time. "Is everyone ready? Let's go." Li Han immediately confirmed, "Yes, sir." The instructor didn't forget to remind him, "Once you get down there, regroup your members and wait for rescue. If your main instructor can't join you, then you take charge, you hear?" Li Han nodded immediately. "Yes, I understand." Just as he finished speaking, a stream of energy appeared at the aircraft. Lee Han was also hit by it. The moment he jumped out was the same moment the aircraft exploded. After a tense moment, Lee Han was still panting heavily. He remembered the person who had just given him instructions had lost his life, and he couldn't help but feel sorrowful. The instructor, luckily for Lee Han, when he landed he got caught in a tree branch, so he was just left dangling there. He tried to take a deep breath, then let out a long sigh. Lee Han told himself, "I have to stay calm. We've been trained for this. There are definitely some people who are injured or panicking and can't move. I have to find them. Let's head to where the smoke is rising first. Is that where the helicopter crashed? No. It could be Joe's signal." Lee Han quickly took out a sharp knife. In no time, he had cut the line so he could climb down. Lee Han moved cautiously, searching his surroundings. Suddenly, he heard a sound coming from behind him. A figure was approaching. Lee Han immediately went on guard, drawing his knife for defense. But when he saw it was a teammate, he breathed a sigh of relief. "Jiro, why are you here?" Jiro explained what happened. "While I was parachuting, I watched our helicopter. I saw you were the last one to jump. In situations like this, you need to find the captain first." Lee Han now saw him in a different light. I can't believe he could make such a correct decision in this situation. He's better than I thought. He urged him on, "Let's go. We need to regroup with everyone as soon as possible." Jiro also nodded in agreement. Lee Han walked in front, instructing, "Break a few branches as you go. Use your dagger to make marks too." A while later, they discovered the burning helicopter. After observing it, Lee Han could confirm, "This is Squad 2. Squad 8 must be on their way." They tried to get closer to check the situation inside. Jiro's face turned incredibly pale. He couldn't stop himself from gagging. "If we hadn't escaped, so I guess it'll probably end the same way for us." But Lee Han just stood silently observing from a corner. Jiro couldn't help but feel suspicious. Is he emotionless? He's not showing any reaction at all. He hesitated and asked, "You're not affected by this at all?" Lee Han then explained, "This isn't the first time we've seen a dead body. In the Ark, people die all the time." Jiro was bewildered, but he didn't have much time to dwell on it, so he urged him on, "Hurry up before more people die." However, when he saw the scene before him, Lee Han couldn't help but freeze. A massive monster stood before them. Lee Han quickly recognized it as a rage wolf. He raised his knife and calmly told Jiro, "Try to find something useful in the helicopter. I'll draw it away." But Jiro was already trembling too much to speak. "Can't we just run?" Lee Han now faced the rage wolf alone. "If we turn our backs and run, we'll definitely die. This bastard's reach is longer than we think. We have to kill it right here and now." The rage wolf's long tentacles stretched out relentlessly, quickly wrapping tightly around Lee Han's arm. Seeing the situation was bad, he urged, Go, Jiro." Receiving the order, Jiro quickly ran away. Now Lee Han had to fight the rage wolf, his body trembling uncontrollably. Seeing this, Jiro felt a bit panicked. Damn it, I want to keep running." But over here, Lee Han quickly took his dagger and cut off the rage wolf's tentacles. It took a long time before he was completely free from its grasp. Lee Han quickly yelled, "Great, get inside!" However, the rage wolf seemed to go berserk and charge towards him. Lee Han was now cornered, forced to take cover behind a tree trunk. It roared madly and swung its claws at Lee Han, but he nimbly dodged out of the way. Standing outside the aircraft, Jiro trembled uncontrollably. "Damn it, I don't want to go in there. If we keep fighting, we'll die. If I use Lee Han as bait and run..." He slapped himself hard. "Get it together, Jiro, you loser." And with that, Jiro kept running forward. "I'm not some coward who betrays his comrades over here." The rage wolf continued its relentless attack on Lee Han. Jiro was also using all his strength to search. "Damn it, there isn't a single bullet for the R2, I'll just take it." If it were Lee Han. Just then, Lee Han noticed something unusual. The tentacle I cut off just regenerated. Is that it? At that moment, a large plank was controlled and flew towards him. Lee Han reacted quickly. He's now using a skill to control things. Jiro had officially joined the battle. "Sorry I'm late. Lee Han..." The rage wolf now shifted its target to Jiro. Even though Jiro was attacking it with his psychic powers, it didn't back down an inch. Jiro told himself, "If it were you, I'm sure you would be watching my actions and reacting appropriately, because you're so smart." A spear was launched, but it completely missed the rage wolf. Now Jiro was facing it all alone. Lee Han quickly noticed the spear. He was now knocked to the ground by the rage wolf. The two were incredibly close. Its mouth was right in front of Jiro's eyes. However, a second later, something emerged from the rage wolf's mouth. It was Li Han's dagger. Jiro, having just had a brush with death, took a long time to react. Luckily, at the moment of life and death, Li Han had dealt with the rage wolf. Jiro, having just had a brush with death, took a long time to react. Luckily, at the moment of life and death, Li Han had dealt with the rage wolf. Jiro used all his strength to push the rage wolf off of him. "Damn it, it's dead right!" Li Han offered a hand to help the other up. "Yeah, you did well, Jiro." He kept groaning. "It feels like my whole body is shattered." He quickly helped Jiro to a safe place. "The rescue team will be here. Just wait a little longer." Meanwhile, over here, the remaining members were also lighting a fire to signal. "I'm sure Li Han will see this smoke and come here." Kuro was extremely confident. If Li Han were here, no matter what happened, he would handle it just fine, Jose agreed. "Yeah, he always makes sound decisions." Just then, a member from another team sighed. "I see Team 13 really trusts their captain. But after seeing his combat abilities, I get it. I understand why they trust him so much." Hearing a sound, Kuro immediately turned around. "Li Han?" But he was mistaken. "Oh, you're not. You're Team 9, right?" Then Newt looked at them and asked with confusion, "There are 6 of you here. Did your helicopter crash too?" A member shook his head and said, "No, we were ambushed. Our guide and our captain were both killed." Hearing this, Newt couldn't help but feel terrified. Joe didn't seem to be doing well either. Kuro was so shocked his face turned pale. "Are we the only ones who were lucky enough to survive?" Just then, 2 figures approached. "Did you guys encounter a rage wolf?" They turned around joyfully and confirmed, "Li Han Jiro." Li Han explained to them, "There are 3 types of monster tribes. They control rage wolves as if they were their hunting dogs." The other team members couldn't help but worry. "What do we do? We don't have any weapons or gear. Are we just going to die helplessly like this?" Li Han shouted, "Focus on me, I have a plan. So please, everyone, lend me your strength. Even if the rescue team is on its way, it will take them at least 5 hours. We have to build a fortress to hold out. Until then." 2 hours later, everything was ready. A normal person couldn't have done anything without weapons, but because we're psychers, anything is possible. An argument began to break out. Is it really okay to have it this bright? After all, dire wolves have a highly developed sense of smell and night vision. Now we just have to wait. Gnut, after much hesitation, finally asked Li Han, "Since it's just the 2 of us now, I have to ask, even if the rescue team gets here, what if the signal is lost again? Will they even know what the situation is like here?" Li Han replied very calmly. "Right now, we need to survive first. Let's just think about how to execute our strategy effectively." Beside him, Gnut glanced at him. "Just as I thought, he knows everything. Is this battle really that hopeless? Right now, all those ambitions and competitions? They all seem like a joke." Suddenly, a loud noise rang out. Gnut and Li Han were instantly on alert. Kuro and the others were no exception. Even the others raised their weapons. As soon as Li Han gave the order, Kuro activated his psychic powers. In an instant, the entire area was enveloped in a layer of energy, surprising the others. "Is that Kuro kid that strong?" "Since when?" Li Han quickly reported, "A beast is approaching from the 6 o'clock direction. Spear team, focus your attack on the target charge. Everyone got into position. Launch them with as much fierce energy as you can. Don't think of this as an act of protecting something, because that will just slow the spear's flight speed," Li Han roared. "Throw!" Gnut also focused all his strength. The dire wolf was quickly pierced by their spears, but its violent thrashing sent Gnut flying into the distance. Li Han called out in worry, "Gnut!" He was shaking in pain, but still reassured them, "Don't worry." The dire wolf, now enraged, howled as its claws emerged, but a second later it fell into the trap they had set earlier. Li Han shouted, "Kuro, next position!" Kuro immediately used his ability to sense. 12 o'clock direction, there are 2 beasts. Li Han immediately implemented his plan. "Joe, light the fire barrier." The dire wolves instantly recoiled in fear. Li Han also noticed something unusual. "They've stopped. Start taking out the ones that are tangled up first." The dire wolf charged towards them at high speed. It advanced so quickly that the spears passed right through its body. The dire wolf's howls echoed through the area. When only one was left, Li Han quickly gave the order to the spear team. However, this dire wolf was smarter, and their plan didn't go as expected. "Damn it! It's using its back to block the attacks. It's trying to hold out until we run out of spears. Yeah, so it seems it has some intelligence. Follow me, Kijo. Li Han leaped up and stabbed at the dire wolf. I'll tear your jaw off. He quickly targeted a weak point, its claws. Without hesitation, Li Han stabbed with all his might. The dire wolf let out a ferocious howl right at that moment. A spear pierced straight through its throat. Kijo was the one who delivered the blow. Shut up and die, you bastard, Kuro warned Kijo. Li Han quickly moved in to pull him away. It's dangerous. Kijo looked at the dire wolf on the ground, bewildered. Damn it, is it dead? However, at that moment, a beam of energy shot towards them. Luckily, only my clothes got torn. The next second, Jiro collapsed, shocking Li Han. Young Kijo, Kuro, filled with guilt, said, Sorry, I couldn't manage everything. It's better to be hit by that than to be attacked by a dire wolf. Li Han immediately assigned tasks. If they have bows and arrows, then Kuro, please locate their positions. It's time to send in the surprise attack team. The keycard Li Han had held until the end, the three-person surprise attack team. Now everyone was ready, weapons in hand. When we think we've finished everything, and that's when the LU hunters will appear. They use their psychic powers to ride on boards, making it look like they're flying. Then once Kuro pinpoints the LU hunter's location, he will escort everyone there. Before they detect us and set up a defensive line, everyone wiped them all out. At that moment, one member finished his task. Kuro was also exhausted, his whole body trembling. I can't use my powers anymore. Gnut was injured and had to be supported by someone else. There were only 2 spears left. Jiro was still unconscious on the ground. Li Han couldn't help but worry. We've really used up all the strength. We have. If more enemies appear, we'll have to flee immediately. However, the sounds in the surrounding area didn't stop. Another pack of dire wolves appeared near them. The pack of dire wolves, like hungry tigers, rushed towards them. Team 13 gathered together to fight. Li Han keenly observed, They're trying to surround us. Their leader must be somewhere around here. Suddenly he saw something. White Fang. A type of werewolf more intelligent than the other one was baring its fangs and glaring at them furiously. At that moment, wisps of dark energy also began to appear at Li Han's feet. The killing intent surrounding him was making me shudder. It was freezing me solid. The number of savage wolves kept increasing, and they had completely surrounded the area. Li Han was almost completely paralyzed. What am I supposed to do? At that critical moment, he saw something. Turns out help had arrived right on time. Li Han immediately pulled himself together, struggling with all his might to break free. We're saved! Li Han turned and urged the team on. Everyone grab your spears quick. We just have to hold out a little longer. Despite his exhaustion, Kuro tried to use his psychic powers one more time. Just a little more. His whole body wouldn't stop shaking. At that moment, the pack of savage wolves along with White Fang charged in. Li Han and Zhou fought them off in perfect sync. The roars grew closer. Li Han felt this was the right moment and gave the order, "They're here." However, at that very moment, an energy blast shot down from above, creating an earth-shattering explosion. Li Han and his group were caught in the blast as well. They were all affected to some degree by the attack. Li Han struggled to open his eyes and see. A figure was slowly descending, wearing a suit of iron armor that made them look like a giant. Seeing that they were still alive, the figure couldn't help but exclaim, "It's a miracle you all managed to hold out this long." Sometime later, they finally returned. Rose couldn't believe what she was seeing. "It's a miracle." Nut, his arm bandaged, was speechless beside her. "Yeah, a real miracle. Half the course was wiped out that day, but we survived." Remembering the armor, Rose said with admiration, "That was incredible, wasn't it? That psychic armor." Although he had also witnessed it, he couldn't help but admit, "Yeah, those werewolves we struggled so hard to kill, it cut through them like butter." But you know something. Even though it was terrifying, everyone was just overjoyed to be alive. But Nut noticed something strange about Li Han. He couldn't help but feel suspicious. But Li Han seemed to be lost in thought. Ever since we returned from the spatial rift, the petty rivalries between teams and the competition have felt meaningless. Now in the neuro clinic, Kuro called out gloomily, "Li Han, I used to really hate you, but I'm so glad to see you're still alive. It's just like you said. I'm not ready to kill anyone or to watch someone else be killed. I've realized who our real enemy is now." Li Han's hand wouldn't stop shaking. "The enemy's forces are on a completely different level than ours. We have to get stronger." However, at that moment, The wall was shattered by a fist. Li Han was stunned by the sudden sight. The person on the other side quickly announced, "Li Han, you've been summoned. Get moving now. There's an emergency meeting. Assemble immediately." And just like that, Li Han followed the person. He could only cover the hole in the wall with a makeshift piece of paper. "I guess I'll just patch this up for now." But why would someone punch through a wall like that? It turned out the person leading Li Han was Silence. This guy is insane. After a long while, he hesitantly asked, may I ask who called for the meeting?" However, she remained silent. Silence looked down, tapping something on her watch. "Sergeant Red, stop bothering me." Then she bluntly gave Li Han the middle finger. He was completely stunned by this. "All right, then. Does she hate me because of our last match?" Soon they arrived. It was a vast room. John quickly responded when his name was called. "Sir, you called for me." Sergeant Red was sitting there along with another person. Li Han was surprised to see that person. "Deo, Simon," John called out impatiently. "Don't just stand there gawking like a lost dog. Sit down. This is going to take a while." Inside the meeting room, everyone's expression was tense. 1/4 of the second years died in this incident, and not in actual combat but during a training exercise. Alexander Recall, the AAC Chief of Staff, made a proposal. "We must interrogate the Commander-in-Chief and reveal the truth about this heavy loss of AAC assets. That is the final decision of the High Committee. Head Coach Rossman will be given full responsibility." Now let's talk about the incident. According to the plane's flight recorder, the attack is suspected to have been planned by the Lu mages. What are your thoughts? Feel free to speak your minds. They've always eliminated werewolves and low-level warriors like the Lu hunters. This time, however, we initiated the attack, and the Lu mages even revealed themselves. This is the first time that's happened since the war began. The Lu mages can also open gates. Perhaps the war will start sooner than the prophecy foretold. Should we awaken the Oracle? John then presented the choice. The only letters left in the team codes are VK. The choice is between White and Whiskey Delta. Li Han, Simon, and Silence all remained silent. Not a single one of them said a word. Simon shot an annoyed glance. A temporary squad for a special mission. Li Han also couldn't quite believe it. We're on the same team. The only one who gave an answer was Silence. Why? So the other two agreed as well. I'll choose Y too. Me too. However, John made a decision that stunned them. All right, this team's code name will be Whiskey. Now I'll brief you on your objectives. During the meeting, Alexandra discussed the Prophet. I know having a Prophet right now would be good, but there will be a time when we need them even more. What do you think, Sergeant Red? John had a different idea. We should put the Prophet matter aside for now. But please grant me the authority to form a team. Alexandra was stunned when she heard this. A team John was full of passion at this point. We'll capture them alive and torture them. This is the easiest way to get information from the enemy. We'll capture the Lu mages in Shinuzu. As soon as they arrived, Otto greeted them cheerfully. Welcome. You second-level kids, go ahead and choose your basic dragon weapons first. They've got serial numbers on them, so remember to bring them back when you're done. Li Han observed the weapon in his hand with admiration. So this is a dragon weapon. As he looked closer, he couldn't help but feel confused. The color of the spearhead is... Otto walked over and said with a laugh, "The dragon material is absorbing your spirit force." Simon seemed to have higher standards for the weapon in his hand. Are there any other types? Like one with a narrower and longer blade, Otto snapped at him angrily. You have to be level 3 to order a custom weapon, kid. What, you think I can make one of these every day? After hearing that, he could only nod, right. Then Otto took something else out. Now for the next piece of gear. Take this. They looked at the orb in his hand, bewildered. This is... Li Han hesitated before making a guess. A hoverboard. Otto quickly explained, it's a more compact version of a hoverboard. I've removed all functions except for movement. At this point, Li Han had all his gear ready. From the protective helmet to the teleportation orb along with other weapons, he was ready for battle. As they were about to leave, Otto sent them off with his best wishes. Good luck. Right now at the Shinuzu Space Rift, they had gathered at a nearby location to avoid being ambushed. From here, we'll proceed on foot to the operational area. The mission is codenamed Mage Hunt. The objective is to capture an Lu mage alive and return. The search team order will be Silence. Me, Li Han, and then Simon. Li Han was quiet and didn't say anything. Earlier, he had questioned John. Why did you add me to this? There are many stronger third-level cadets. He just replied coldly. If I wanted to pick someone with stronger combat skills, I would agree. But from a strategic point of view, it's a different story. Your team was able to survive without any gear while fighting those monster soldiers. That's not your only strength. Most of the kids who come back from the space rifts are suffering from trauma. When placed in a harsh environment like a battlefield, people will eventually break. From that perspective, you're a real monster. There were times I even thought you were a madman. The only thing you lack right now is actual combat experience. So that's why Sergeant Red chose me and Simon. Simon wasn't feeling too comfortable either. It was all because of one match that he'd observed Lee Han in before. This is insane. That Lee Han kid. He even beat a third level. Simon was furious at the time. Silence. Lee Han. I'll show you who's the best. John then divided up the tasks. We'll take turns resting. Silence and Lee Han. Simon and I. We'll split into 2 teams. Soon enough, they had everything arranged. Simon and John were in charge of guard duty while Silence and Lee Han rested. He silently observed his surroundings. That forest is right ahead of us. As he thought about it, Lee Han felt a bit sad. He couldn't help but remember his comrades, the members of his team who couldn't make it back. I know the chances are slim, but they have to be out there somewhere. Just then, Lee Han heard a noise beside him. Turns out Silence was loosening her helmet because it was too hot. But when she realized Lee Han was looking, she decisively put it back on. The entire space suddenly fell silent. Lee Han got the hint and suggested I'll turn away. Why don't you take your helmet off for a bit? However, Silence showed no signs of removing her helmet. Then she typed something on her watch and very quickly the words, "I'm not hot," appeared on her helmet, leaving Lee Han speechless. Okay. A moment later. From this point on, our communication devices won't work on normal channels. We're switching to the team network. At that moment, Silence seemed to have discovered something. She immediately reported back. "Alu scouts ahead. There are 2 of them." Silence quickly ducked behind a large tree. They're approaching from this side. John also gave an order. "Raise your weapons, take them out." Silence. Silence used her skill to take care of it quickly. Flash, step. Then she quickly messaged them to report. John was speechless when he saw it. She even had a message prepared. Simon was dumbfounded, unable to believe it. Lee Han couldn't help but think to himself, that's insane. Her ability is too good. It's like a cheat skill for assassination. However, just then, suddenly an unusual noise was heard. Silence quickly ducked to avoid it. There are still 2 monsters over there. Silence was about to raise her sword to finish them off for good, but a message came through her earpiece. Wait. Silence. Lee Han suggested I think it would be better if we followed them instead of killing them. John was also intrigued and immediately asked why. You noticed the enemy's direction of movement with great subtlety. They're heading towards the crack, and their guard is down, which means they're most likely returning from a scouting mission. After hearing this, John was pleased and praised him. That's smart. Your observation skills are excellent. Lee Han followed them silently. We'll follow from behind. Simon, standing beside them, heard this and ground his teeth in anger. He couldn't stop complaining in his mind. I was only thinking about killing them. Just you wait, Lee Han. I'll surpass you eventually. At that moment, Silence activated her device. She quickly followed the 2 monsters. At this moment, the place they arrived at seemed to be some kind of altar. The Elu mage was completely focused on his work. Elu mage, John spoke up. Do you see the stone on top of the staff? That's spirit power. I'm sure you've learned about it. Lee Han and Simon realized at the same time that if it was a spirit power stone, it was a stone that could store a massive amount of spirit power. They must have used it to shoot down the plane. It looks like it's being charged right now, but it looks bright enough that it could probably fire 1 more shot. The enemy has 1 Elu mage and 6 Elu warriors, 7 in total. Luckily, there are no werewolves yet. John quickly gave an order. Everyone gather at Silence's position. Initiate the mage capture mission. The Elu mage has the ability to teleport. We have to catch it before it sees us. Move out. Silence will capture the Elu mage, and we will eliminate the rest. From now on, no mistakes are allowed. As Lee Han observed, he couldn't help but feel suspicious. It's as bright as day. What are those things lying over there? Suddenly, his eyes widened in shock. Below the altar were the desiccated corpses of team members. Among them was even Kasim Lee Han's teammate. The moment Lee Han saw it, he couldn't help but cry out in agitation. Kasim. On the ground was a member of Lee Han's team. He was now so furious that his spirit power began to leak out uncontrollably. John had to repeatedly call out to him, Li Han. Li Han Hui observed doubtfully. His spirit power is leaking out. Why is he suddenly like this? If this continues, everyone will be in danger. The Elu mage can detect spirit power. John tried to reassure himself. It's probably nothing. At that moment, he ordered everyone, "Don't move, Whiskey Team. All of you fall back." Both Silence and Simon were stunned when they received the order, but they retreated. John saw that Li Han couldn't calm down and thought dejectedly, I guess I'll have to take care of this damn bastard. That shouldn't be enough for it to detect us as long as no more energy flows out. However, just as John thought this, a powerful surge of energy erupted. It was coming from Li Han's exact location. John couldn't help but curse under his breath. Damn it. The Elu mage also seemed to notice something was wrong. John quickly lunged forward, and at the same time, just then the Elu mage launched an attack. A massive force pushed towards Li Han. It turned out John had pushed him out of the way in time, but that also meant he would be the one to take the hit. Li Han witnessed this scene directly. In an instant, John was sent flying. The power of that blow was immense. Seeing this, Li Han cried out in a panic, Sergeant Red! However, John was still able to ask, Have you snapped out of it yet? At that moment, it was as if he'd returned to his senses. John, trying to suppress his trembling, gave an order. If I'm no longer able to fight, you will take my place as commander. Now go! Li Han, still trembling, issued the command. We're retreating, cover me! Simon received the order and raised his gun. Silence also dashed forward. Slow footsteps appeared. Li Han was supporting the heavily injured John as they moved. In his heart, he cursed non-stop, Damn it, damn it! The Elu mage shouted something in a strange language. Immediately, the warriors charged forward as if they had received an order. Silence fought back without a hint of fear, her every sword strike perfectly precise. The warriors then turned their attention to the others. Simon immediately provided cover, firing continuously. However, they easily dodged every shot. Seeing this, he suddenly grew tense. Simon used his full strength. He used his spirit power to control a large stone, then teleported it towards them. Simon put all his might into the attack. The stone hit the warriors, but he was just a bit unlucky as they had detected it. Simon couldn't help but curse inwardly, I was too slow. Are you done yet? The warrior raised his weapon, but luckily just in the nick of time, Silence arrived to save him. Simon was stunned by the unexpected scene. He couldn't believe his eyes. Silence. How the hell did Li Han manage to take that thing down? The Elu mage then gave another order. The warriors stopped their attack and returned one by one. Seeing this, Simon was completely bewildered. They've given up chasing us. An unknown amount of time passed. Li Han was still blaming himself. It's my fault. Because of me, the plan. Without a moment's hesitation, Silence rushed forward and threw a punch at him. Caught off guard, Li Han was sent flying. Simon, seeing that Silence was losing her cool, came over and put a hand on her shoulder to calm her down. That's enough. We can't proceed with the plan anymore. Being stubborn will only make things worse. Simon suggested they should retreat, but the headstrong Li Han refused. No, we stick to the plan. At this point, Silence could no longer remain calm. She slapped Simon's hand away, walked over, and kicked Li Han straight in the face. Simon hurriedly ran over. Silence. I know you're furious, but right now Li Han is our commander. If you keep this up, I won't just stand by. After hearing this, Silence seemed to calm down a little. Then she let out a long sigh. Simon then turned back and called out, Hey Li Han, I'm sure you're aware that everything that happened is your fault, right? If you come up with some half-baked plan, I'll beat you to death myself before we're forced to retreat. I'll decide after hearing your plan. As much as I hate to admit it, you're the best at using your head among all the second years. Li Han was surprised to hear these words. He immediately composed himself. Stop sulking and listen. Silence. All things considered, things aren't actually that bad right now. Upon hearing this, Silence's clenched fist began to tremble. Simon also felt confused hearing Li Han. Han, is it really okay to say that? You're nodding so firmly, confirming exactly why we need to get this done fast. Because of the Elu mage's fire psychic power and its ability to escape via teleportation, but we don't have to worry about that anymore. Simon also nodded in agreement. Regarding the fire psychic power, you're right. That guy used up all his remaining explosions. But why do you think he won't teleport anymore? Li Han gave them his detailed analysis. These things live in hiding because they're cautious and cunning. But right now, even with their lives on the line, they still haven't broken formation. The truth is, the one from earlier tried to drain the last of the psychic energy from the crystal. He even had the Elu warriors fall back to protect him instead of continuing to chase us. He wouldn't need to do that if he could still teleport. There must be a reason he can't leave that place. The entire space suddenly fell silent. Only after Jinglang gave a slight nod did Simon dare to speak. All right, then. Li Han, tell us your plan. In Li Han's hand was a teleportation sphere. He confidently explained his plan. I'm going to capture the Elu mage. I'll ambush them from the spatial rift. You two can create a diversion from the front. Even if the Elu mage can detect psychic energy if it's leaking from a spatial rift, a place emitting powerful energy, it'll be hard for him to spot us. His vision will also be obscured by the light from the rift. Simon quickly voiced his concern. You too. Besides having your vision obscured, you'll also be under pressure from the rift, won't you? Can you maintain control under that kind of pressure? If you make a single mistake, you'll die. But Li Han wasn't worried in the slightest. He was confident in his ability to control his psychic power. It wasn't that he was trying to hide his flaws. It was because he was the only one who could do it. Li Han's gaze became more determined than ever. Simon then remarked on Li Han. He must have seen his comrades in that pile of corpses. He acts like a machine, a cold-blooded bastard. But if you saw that and had no reaction, you wouldn't be human anymore. But even when things went south because of his own mistake, he was still able to observe the enemy and plan his next move. It's astounding. That's why Team 13 trusts Li Han so much. Li Han breathed a sigh of relief when he arrived. Good, just in time. He kept tossing equipment into the rift. Li Han looked at the sphere in his hand. One wrong move and it's all over. On the other side, Simon checked the time and reported, 15 minutes are up. The 15-minute countdown began, which was also Li Han's cue to act. He started his plan continuously throwing the teleportation spheres. Then he dove in after them. Li Han precisely stepped on a teleportation sphere. Seizing the opportunity, Jinglang and Simon charged forward. The Elu mage spotted them. Simon tensed as he realized their numbers had increased. There are more Elu warriors. Did the patrols get back already? Jinglang remained steady, using teleportation to take care of the warriors. Simon followed close behind, firing his gun non-stop. The warriors shrieked in pain as they were hit. Jinglang didn't stop either, continuously taking them down. Simon and Jinglang regrouped. Simon suddenly raised his gun and a bullet whizzed past Jinglang. An enemy warrior had been about to launch a sneak attack, so Simon took care of it. He gave a slight nod as a signal which Jinglang immediately understood. All Simon could do now was hope. Hang in there, Li Han. You can't fail your very first mission. Over here, Li Han was inside the rift. An unsettling feeling washed over him, making him grit his teeth. Damn it. This feeling again. This is definitely dragon fear. Li Han tried to calm himself. It's just an illusion. Don't hesitate. Li Han decided to bite down hard on his finger. Even as fresh red blood flowed, Li Han remained resolute. However, before him now stood a giant dragon. Back on the other side, Simon was still fighting non-stop. He was growing tired as he counted the remaining warriors. Only 2 of them left. Now there were only 2 warriors and the Elu mage. Simon quickly realized they had to protect the mage, so they definitely wouldn't advance. Realizing this weakness, Simon immediately raised his gun. The Elu mage began to channel some kind of power. A protective shield quickly appeared, covering both warriors as well. Simon instantly understood. They saw the bullet's path and used an external force shield to defend. Not bad. However, a figure had now appeared from behind them, but the shield only protected their front. It was Li Han emerging from the rift below. He lunged forward to restrain the Elu mage. The 2 warriors spun around in surprise, but they didn't expect Jinglang to charge in at that exact moment. And just like that, with a single slash, he finished off both warriors. A syringe of some kind was pressed against the Elu mage's neck. It struggled to break free from Li Han's grip, but he showed no intention of letting go. Come on, get in there. Worst case, this thing teleports. He quickly finished injecting the solution into the Elu mage. Its body began to dissolve. Li Han cried out in horror, no! He watched it rapidly disintegrate with his own eyes, sending him into a greater panic. At that moment, a blinding light erupted. Li Han's jaw dropped in astonishment. He looked bewildered at the sorcerer Elu, who had collapsed in his arms. Did it work? An unknown amount of time had passed, and they were now back. The steady sound of typing echoed as Li Han silently watched John. So that was it. He had lost a leg in that incident. Growing a bit impatient, John called out, "Hey, don't just stand there staring. I can wear a prosthetic. Plus, I'll get a veteran's disability pension. That's more than enough to retire on. Stop apologizing." Lai-han hesitated for a moment, then replied, "Yes, sir." John didn't forget to add some praise. Going through with the plan was the right call, Lai-han. If you had retreated, my leg would have been sad enough to cry. It's not all bad. Thanks to you, I've already finished writing the strategy report. I guess now we just need to get the details from the one we captured. Lai-han was a little apprehensive. Is it possible to interrogate a being from another world? We have a mind reader at AC, John revealed, pulling out a cigarette. He's the only one who can do it. Li-han looked at the cigarette in his hand, extremely annoyed. This is a hospital room. Just then a figure entered from outside. Tin Lang saw that Lai-han was there, so she got the hint and started to leave, but John called her back, saying, "We're done. Come on in, Tin Lang." Tin Lang quickly asked, "Sir, are you okay?" John replied with a cheerful laugh, "I was actually thinking about going on a diet. But I don't need to now, I'm already much lighter." Looking at Tin Lang beside him, Li-han wondered, is she actually smiling? Tin Lang just watched John in silence. But to see him laughing so cheerfully, Lai-han, standing beside them, could only stare blankly, finding it hard to believe that someone like Sergeant Red could talk to Tin Lang like that. After a while, John shooed them away. "Get out of here, you old man in a kid's body, and you fake ninja, I need to reminisce about my missing leg," and was lost in thought. Just then Tin Lang spoke up guiltily. "I'm sorry for hitting you. If it were me, I would have acted the same way." Li-han immediately explained, "No, I deserve to be hit. I put everyone in danger." Tin Lang encouraged him, "But you made it through. I can see now why Sergeant Red has such high expectations of you." On the way back, Li-han voiced his doubts. "I never thought Sergeant Red was the type to talk about what he likes and dislikes. But either way, he's still a bully. We're here. See you, Tin Lang?" Li-han waved cheerfully. Tin Lang immediately responded to him, then started typing something. Then a small object was tossed at Li-han's head. He got the hint and turned around. Lai-han just chuckled and nodded when he saw her message. "Study hard so you can make it to level 3 soon, kiddo." She walked away, flipping him the bird. Lai-han recalled the match when Simon had asked him, "You can feel the pressure from the rift too, can't you? Can you control your hoverboard under that kind of pressure? If you mess up, we're all dead." But at that moment, he was resolute. "I'm confident in my telekinetic abilities. I'm not doing this to atone for some mistake. It's because I have the highest probability of success." Li-han stood before the rift, brimming with confidence. A plane had just landed and countless people in formal attire were disembarking. Their leader was Visitor Zenju from the USA, Inspector Du grumbled with some annoyance. "It's so hot." The delegation slowly made their way inside. Soon an announcement was made. "The Inspection Council has arrived." A fleet of cars was already lined up and waiting for them. Alexander immediately gave the order, "Escort them safely to the main conference hall." The soldiers saluted sharply. "Thank you for traveling all this way to be here, sirs. We will now escort you to the conference hall. And just in case you get lost, we've provided these short-range communication devices. They also come with a guide map." Inspector Du glanced happily at the watch on his wrist. "This is all I'll need." Just then someone offered Inspector Du, "Please allow me to escort you," but he flatly refused. "That won't be necessary. I can manage on my own. An inspector has that privilege, doesn't he?" The soldier gave a slight nod. "Yes, sir." Inwardly, however, he couldn't help but feel annoyed. Damn it, he's one of the difficult ones. Inspector Du had his own thoughts as well. "Besides, the information you're about to show us is just for appearances anyway." He let out a bored sigh, confusing the soldier. Inspector Du suddenly turned around and asked, "Where is that little brat Lai-han?" Sometime later, the members of Team 13 were holding a pile of snacks. "So glad to finally meet you, Team 13, Inspector Du said with a cheerful greeting. "Here, here. There's plenty more, so go ahead and stuff them in your pockets for now. You kids are just like my own grandkids, so I'll be sure to take good care of you." At that moment, Han Li's expression hardened. "Inspector, sir, we need to resume our training." The inspector nodded awkwardly. Of course. I won't get in your way anymore." Han quickly rallied his team. "Everyone prepare to move out. We're heading to the firing range." Inspector Du stood and watched. So that must be Han. According to his level 1 file, there's nothing special about him, but he made a name for himself during the competition and achieved something at the Space Rift. Inspector Du was now waiting in a corner of the training grounds. He stretched wearily. He couldn't stop yawning. These stubborn little brats.
There haven't been any competition since that incident at the Space Rift, have there? All the other teams have already taken a break. So why are these kids still training? Just then a noise caught his attention. Seeing the squad emerge, Inspector Du wondered, are they done? But reality wasn't so kind. Li Han issued his next command. All right, everyone, we're heading to the armory now. The inspector could only sigh. So stubborn. Back on the training field, Inspector Du watched from a higher vantage point. Li Han said, Kuro, you're sparring with me today. Kuro's face went pale at the suggestion. Li Han, full of fighting spirit, said, Get ready, Kuro. Kuro was trembling with fear. Why would Li Han want to partner with me? This doesn't feel like a normal training session, Li Han thought to himself. Back in the dimensional rift, I learned a very important lesson. And that is, you can't fight in the real world using only psychic powers. Kuro has to become a versatile warrior. He might be weak at level 1, but our bodies have already become superhuman. So now it's just a matter of his psychic abilities. Li Han took a running start and dashed toward Kuro. Here I come, Kuro. Overwhelmed by this immense power, he was terrified and taken down in an instant. However, Kuro didn't give up because of it. He ceaselessly moved the staff in his hand to dodge the attacks. Li Han didn't seem to have any intention of holding back. By now, Kuro's forehead was drenched in sweat as he gasped for breath. I really thought I was about to die. Li Han swiftly knocked Kuro's hand away. The staff was pointed directly at Kuro's neck. Even if you can see into the near future, you can't win, if you only stay on the defensive. Li Han was still determined. Try attacking me, Kuro. He doesn't trust me. Kuro thought quickly, steadying his breath, ready to re-engage, but he was so tense that he could only squeeze his eyes shut and charge forward with all his might. Li Han just stood there silently, not moving a muscle. In no time, Kuro's staff was gone. Li Han quickly corrected his opponent. When you attack, you need to keep your eyes wide open and hold your spear steady. Being criticized. Kuro hung his head in guilt. I'm sorry. But Li Han seemed to realize he had been too harsh. He softened his voice and advised Kuro, Hey, this time, try attacking me with everything you've got. Kuro was stunned. Even Joe, who was standing nearby, couldn't believe it. What did you just say? The entire training ground suddenly fell silent. Li Han still spoke in a serious tone. Kuro, from now on I'm going to attack you with everything I have, so you do the same. Zels couldn't help but worry. Just looking at their weapon skills, Li Han is the clear winner. But Knut didn't think so. But if you factor in psychic powers, then it's not so certain. Seeing that Kuro was still silent, Li Han provoked him. What's wrong, Kuro? Are you afraid you'll hurt me? He hung his head sadly. I really don't know why you're doing this. I'm sorry, but I'm sure you must have your reasons. I trust you completely. Joe and the others were stunned to hear that. Immediately after, Kuro activated his psychic powers. In that case, I'll do everything you ask. I believe in you, Li Han. At that moment, Li Han was invited for tea. All right. Li Han, what brings you here today? Wei Chen asked, cheerfully offering him a cup. This is oolong tea. Go on, try it. Li Han put on an awkward expression as he praised it. It's delicious. Thank you, master. Inwardly, he was screaming, This tastes so weird. Seeing his reaction, Wei Chen couldn't help but pout. Look at the boy. Such a child. Li Han decided not to beat around the bush and went straight to the point. The truth is, I came here about Kuro. The old man froze for a moment. Kuro, what is your assessment of his current condition? Kuro is lacking in many offensive techniques. He's quite hesitant when he fights. I'm afraid it's going to get him killed one day. Wei Chen gently explained, Humans undergo psychological shifts based on the dangers they have to confront. Li Han was a bit stunned. Psychological shifts. The old man then clarified, it is the refusal to harm another person. Even the bravest soldiers sometimes hesitate when they have to kill someone. But once they've undergone that psychological shift, they're able to act. It is indeed a bit cruel to force Kuro to strike someone down, but he needs an opportunity like that time you pushed him past his limits in the desert, when he placed his complete faith in you. Back in the present, Kuro was using his psychic powers to activate his combat abilities. Li Han now understood what Wei Chen meant. So this is a person's psychological shift. Joe couldn't hold back his anger. Kuro, that bastard! He's not listening to a word I say. Knut hesitated.
Should we stop them? From a high vantage point, Inspector Du watched the scene stunned. Incredible. Truly incredible. Is this the power of a rank A? Li Han wasn't worried in the slightest. On the contrary, he calmly prepared to face it. This is unreal. How should I handle this? Should I do it like Kuro? Joe realized with concern. Right now, Kuro can see all of Li Han's moves and dodge them easily. Knut beside him agreed. It's going to be very difficult to attack him now. Kuro quickly used his power to control the staff. Li Han didn't show any sign of being outmatched. He successfully caught the staff thrown by Kuro. However, Li Han had to admit that even though it was thrown with telekinesis, it was just as powerful as when I throw it with my own physical strength. Even Joe and Nut were at a loss for words. Oh, so he just needed to catch it instead of dodging. It sounds simple, but how many people could actually do that? Li Han continued to taunt him. You're only throwing one spear. Are you underestimating me? You're going to have to do better than that, Kuro. Kuro's grip on the spear unconsciously tightened upon hearing his words. Kuro, in the end you will have to attack me. Stop running away from it. Attack me with the spear in your hands. This time Li Han charged forward to attack. Parry this, here I come. Kuro kept moving his staff to attack, but still couldn't hit Li Han. At this point, Li Han reminded him, You're running out of weapons, Kuro. He made his decision. He would pour all his strength into a single attack. Li Han could now clearly sense it. He quickly took off his own jacket and then used it for leverage, successfully pushing back Kuro's power. Even so, Li Han's footsteps faltered. He didn't give up and continued to rush forward. Glut and Zeus cheered enthusiastically from the sidelines. He used his power on the jacket to push the spears aside. Raise your spear and fight, Kuro. However, when faced with Li Han's resolute gaze, Kuro hesitated slightly. But a second later he steeled his resolve and charged forward. Li Han didn't hesitate for a moment, breaking Kuro's staff. The two now stood face to face, but suddenly Li Han raised his hand and gave Kuro a painful flick on the forehead. Li Han praised him with satisfaction. It's good that you can still keep your eyes wide open when you attack. He even cheerfully patted Kuro on the head. Zeus kept yelling, So cruel, while Glut beside him also wailed, The result is, Kuro the fighting machine, you need to try harder. Li Han also gave his sincere feedback. Kuro, you're still too green. When you threw all the spears at once, why did you aim them all at a single point on my body? If you had just thrown them randomly in different directions, it would have been harder to dodge. I might have gotten hit in the arm or leg, Kuro explained sheepishly. I was afraid I'd actually hit you. And besides, I never expected you to use your jacket to block like that. After hearing that Li Han could only sigh, seriously, Inspector Du now had a different view of Li Han. Li Han, he's even more than the rumors say. I'm sure he'll bring many things to Ak in the future. This is something Ak never told me. He slowly walked down and then made a proposition to Li Han. Could you spare a bit of your time for me? However, Li Han remained silent and didn't answer. After a long while, when the two were talking privately, Li Han finally asked, Sir, what did you say happened at the spatial rift? I've already detailed everything I know in the report to the council. Inspector Du shared candidly, I just wanted to hear it directly from you. Come on, sit down, make yourself comfortable. Get ready. Li Han. Inspector Du was very confident at this point. My special skill has been honed through dozens of negotiations. Super empathy. Not exactly telepathy, but it works. If I agree with you at a certain moment or find one of your actions truly astonishing, you'll feel at ease and unconsciously say something you didn't intend to reveal. It really was a crazy idea at the time. Brilliant, I've almost got it. And then what? After hearing this, Li Han felt confused. What do you mean, and then what, sir? Inspector Du asked a bit sheepishly. Is that all the information that's been reported so far? Is there nothing else to the story? He nodded in confirmation. Yes, sir, all the detailed information is in the report. Not a single flicker of emotion. What a cunning brat. Finally, Li Han bowed. I'm going to go train some more, sir. Inspector Du had no choice but to agree. Very well. Li Han smiled to himself, pleased. I was ordered to keep it a secret. No matter what happens, you won't get any information out of me, Inspector Du. At that moment, Inspector Du took out his phone. He looked around cautiously, then dialed a number. Investigate Li Han for me. Everything from the spatial rift incident until now. Report all the information you can find to me immediately.